Story 1. My 34 MBF is upset with me, 32F, because I didn't make his plate and serve it to him during Christmas. Original post, December 28, 2024. Where do I go from here? Our 5-year anniversary is a couple of weeks from now and we have a 2-year-old. I didn't know anything was wrong until we started the 5 hours drive home after spending the holidays with my family. He was quiet pretty much the whole way and snapped at me when I asked why he was following too close behind a vehicle and also driving fast. As soon as we get home, he leaves without a word for a couple hours, gets back and says he went to the mall to buy a couple more gifts and some shoes for himself. I'm annoyed because I've been telling him for weeks to pick out shoes, and I will buy them for his upcoming birthday asterisk. He's really hard to shop for and picky about his clothes. So I asked him why he bought himself shoes when I wanted to buy him some as a gift. He says in rude tone, "Send me 100 then, because that's how much they were." I finally asked him what his problem was, and he was upset that I didn't make him a plate. I spent over 4 hours cooking for my whole family, also cooked for Xmas Eve the day before. I was tired. The holidays are exhausting. I couldn't believe he was upset about that. He seemed annoyed on Boxing Day because we ordered pizza, and I made a plate for my stepfather who uses a cane. I told him to make himself a plate, and he just sat there. He also said I barely looked at him during our visit, and if I did, I didn't smile or look at him lovingly. Like I said, I was tired. My 2-year-old was also extra clingy, so I felt overstimulated and just tried to be present with my family. Lastly, he was mad because I didn't go sledding with him and my family. I stayed back with my sister and baby niece, and we watched a rom-com. I wanted to relax and have some me time, and he was upset about that, saying I just wanted to go on my phone, which I did. I got to watch TikToks and just scroll for a bit. Anyway, after we got home and had this conversation, I left upset and went to have dinner by myself while he took our child for a walk. As soon as I got home, he left again and didn't come back for 4 hours. We have barely spoken, and I don't want to be the one to sit down and start this conversation, to coddle him and make him feel better. I'm so sick of this. Where do I go from here? Relevant. Comment? Why is OOP allowing this relationship to continue? P. It's my first long-term relationship, my first love. I asked myself this question as well. Low self-esteem perhaps, but I've just started therapy again, so I'm hoping things will get better for my mental health. Has OOP considered about marriage counseling for both herself and her BF? OP. We are not married, probably will never get married. And I have suggested couples counseling, but he flat out said no. Commenter 1. Your BF is a child. Unless he's missing his arms, he can surely get his own plate. He's petulant and has some really weird ideas about gender roles. Does he track how often you smile at him and look at him lovingly and how much time you do it each time? Holy shit. OP. After he said that, I couldn't believe it. I do make his plate at home because I'm the one that cooks and I serve him and our son first. I paid for our gas to go visit. I pay for my own vehicle, insurance, and phone, so this gender role idea in his head is bonkers. Is there any chances that BF might be dealing with unresolved issues? OOP. You're right. He has trauma from his mother, and I feel like he hates me sometimes when all I do is work, cook for my family, take care of our child asterisk, paying for daycare and drops-offs and pickups asterisk, and stay home. He always finds something to be mad about with me. If he isn't being jealous, then he's mad I don't clean enough or want some alone time. Commenter 2. Okay, on your side, he sounds bloody awful. Be honest, other than taking joy in your child, are you happy? Contented? Does he make you feel happy and supported? If not, if you're not feeling part of a loving partnership, can you move back in with your family? Will they help you to get back on your feet? You need a happy life in order to provide happiness for your baby. That's how they learn what to expect. From your post, I think that you need to leave. You can co-parent. He much better for you. Tell your family before you tell your BF. They need to be involved. Choose happiness for yourself and your child. OOP. I have family to rely on, thankfully. Our lease is up in 2 months and I can get a place on my own for my son and I. We're happy a lot of the time. We don't argue every day, but once a month or so, something upsets him. Something I've done. He gets quiet and I can tell he's mad. I'll ask him what's wrong, and it's something from the past he hasn't gotten over. It's jealousy or something he's dealing with. He lost his mom and brother. He has trauma. He does not communicate his feelings to me, says he's dealing with it on his own, but he's cold and distant towards me, and I start overthinking everything about what I may have said or done. His actions tell me he doesn't care about me, and at times it feels like he doesn't love me or value me. Thank you everyone for your input. We still haven't talked, but I'm giving myself some time and space from him. Update, January 12th, 2025, 2 weeks later. Update. Like an absolute dumbass, I stayed. I cried my eyes out and told him how I felt, and he didn't have anything to say. Just that he's sorry and will do better. We were okay for a week. Today is our 5-year anniversary. Well, would have been. He broke up with me today. I've had to stay home all week with our child because of a parasite and waiting for tests. On Thursday, I got sick and still am sick with what feels like a chest cold infection. The morning of our anniversary, he goes rock climbing. I don't know what time he left, but was gone until noon. I was pissed and texted him it would have been nice to have help while I rested. I canceled the reservations I made to the restaurant that we met at. When I told him this, he ripped up the card he got me, told me he's going to stay elsewhere and we're done. He said I am miserable and just want to be sad, and that I make him pay with all the ways my dad failed me. Asterisk. My father could care less about me, and I have daddy issues. Lol asterisk. I don't think I'm being unreasonable for expecting him to spend the whole day or coming back early from climbing. I didn't even get a good morning, happy anniversary text. But it is what it is. Anyways, y'all were right. I knew it in my heart but didn't want to believe it. There's no coming back from this, but I'm okay. Thank you for letting me vent and for all of your advice. It's nice to come back and read all the positive support. Relevant. Comment. Commenter 1. He sounds like a man-child. Now he's gone. I almost guarantee you'll start thriving. With him not around putting you down, draining your energy and self-esteem, you'll start noticing a difference. OP. Thank you. Just got to get over the sad part. I was the best version of myself when I met him. I've lost myself in this relationship, but I feel ready to move forward. Commenter 2. He's an idiot and he's trying to bully you. Bet that once he sees you're chill with it ending, he will panic and beg. OP. I honestly believe we are both done at this point. Done fighting, done trying to make this work. Kind of funny that our relationship ends on the very day of our 5th anniversary. I don't know how we made it this long. Commenter 3. Honestly, it sounds like he's having an affair. He is projecting and making up reasons to be mad at you. It's how narcissists justify their own awful behavior. OOP. I wouldn't be surprised. For most of our relationship, he's accused me of being sneaky or cheating on him. I have never ever cheated. I will never be a cheater because I can't imagine hurting somebody like that. We haven't been friends of social media for almost a year, and I don't know his passcode, so if he is, then so be it. I can't take it anymore. OOP explains why she was together with her BF for 5 years, had a child, and no marriage. OOP. Honestly, I think it's a culture thing. We're both indigenous in Canada. Marriage happens so much later in life in our communities and families. Unfortunately, it's said that indigenous people attend more funerals than weddings, which is true in both of our families. We have never talked about it. He called me his wife on occasion. He's only ever been my partner. I just never seen myself getting married. But now I hope to find that lifelong commitment with someone who cherishes me one day, not anytime soon. OOP needs to get in therapy to deal with unresolved issues she might as. OP. I got back into therapy. I have a session this Friday, so I have a lot to say and a lot to get out. He used to be so sweet and considerate in the beginning. He used to tell me his feelings. He tried to resolve conflicts. All of his actions and words to me as of late are what he truly feels and thinks about me. I am ready to move on. Story 2. Ada for wanting to name my son after a Star Trek character. Original post October 12th, 2021. Original. I, 33F, am 7 months pregnant with our son, who doesn't have a name yet. I also like Star Trek, especially DS9, which I've started re-watching recently. If you are familiar with the series, you will certainly remember Dr. Julian Bashir. I've always thought Julian is a pretty name, but I'd forgotten about it before my re-watch. So, when I heard it again, I texted my husband, asking his opinion about the name. He loved it, so for a while we both wanted to name our son Julian. I didn't tell him where I got the name. We've been doing that since I found out I was pregnant. Texting each other names we've heard somewhere or read or something, and we didn't always specify where we heard it. None of the names was something we both liked until Julian. Yesterday I was watching DS9 again while my husband was home. He happened to pass by when the name Julian was set on screen. He stopped and asked me if this is where I got the name. I said yes. He said we can't name our son Julian. I asked why. He said he loved it. He said it's weird to name a real child after a character and we'll be assholes if we do that to our son. I said that I just like the name as did he until now, and the fact that it's a Star Trek character name is just a bonus. He says people will laugh or make fun of our son if they find out. I say no one is entitled to know the backstory of his name. It's a name we like, and that's it. He said that's not something people do. So I suggested to come here and see what people think. Aita for wanting to name our son Julian, or is he for rejecting it just because a character shares it? It's a real name, not like I want to name him Spock or, God forbid, Ducat. Verdict, not the asshole. Relevant comment? Phaser laser. Nah, the name is pretty normal, like you said. It's not as if you were saying he should be named Spock. At the same time, I am a firm believer that parents should both have input veto power on names, so I wouldn't necessarily say your husband is an asshole either. Try to convince your husband or find another name you both like. Oh, I won't insist on the name if he absolutely hates it. One of his main arguments was that unbiased people would back him up on this, so I wanted to test his theory. He readily admits if he's wrong, so I hope if Reddit backs me up, he'll see that it's not weird. Deleted. NTA. For one, you should name your child whatever you want, regardless of the backstory. As you said, it's really no one's business. I have also never heard of anyone's naming being made fun of because of its origin. Secondly, it's a common enough name. It isn't like you're naming your child Khaleesi, Gati, or something easily identifiable from a show. OP. Exactly, it's not like people go around prying on the backstory of names, especially if it's not a super weird name. I feel bad for poor Khaleesi's, though. Garnet Tribal. Nah! My dad wanted to name me Zelda, but really didn't want to name me Zelda because of the legend of Zelda. At least Julian is more normal, LOL. OP. Zelda is also a pretty name, TBH, but I would also hesitate because of how much it's connected to the character nowadays. Vicky_SD. NTA. If you ruled out every name because it might have been in a movie or TV show, you'd be left with a very short list. Julian is a normal name. I don't think anyone would even ask why you chose it, since it's not some weird and wonderful name. OP. That's what I said. I asked him if he would rule out James if I offered it after rewatching TOS, just because it's also a fictional character's name. Ian0Twill. NTA. The number of kids named Hermione has skyrocketed after the HP series became huge. My dad wanted to name me after a Star Trek character as well. My mum said no, because it was a name her family wouldn't be able to pronounce, however. That was the only reason she said no. OP. Now I'm curious what your dad wanted to name you. I wouldn't name a child Hermione because now that name is very closely associated with HP. But fortunately, I can't say the same for Julian. Ian0Twill. Tiberius after Captain James Tiberius Kirk. To be honest, I might have been teased if I was given that name. There was also a Roman emperor by the same name, and none of those dudes were particularly nice people. OP also added about the name. It's not that I want to name him Julian after the character. I just happen to like the name. We've agreed not to name him after family members to avoid drama, and choose a nice name. If I heard a name I liked somewhere else, I'd suggest it. But I happened to hear it on the show. I appreciate your opinion, though. It offers another perspective. As I said in the post, we usually don't specify where we get the names when we text each other suggestions. We can hear half a dozen names every day, and if we like them, we share them, usually without explaining where we heard it. It goes like, "Hey, what about name?" Or, "I heard name today, what do you think?" And as I also said, I want to name him Julian because I like the name, not because I like the character. Though I do like the character. I'm not going to hide from my son where I got the name. I'll tell him I heard it on a show and loved it. If he's interested, I'll tell him which show. Still, Thanks for your judgment and well wishes. And the husband's thoughts on naming a child after a fictional character. I suggested the name Quark and then showed him which character that was. He didn't think it was as funny as I did. He knows people name their kids after fictional characters. He just thinks it's a disservice to the kid. I agree to him to an extent. I certainly wouldn't name my daughter Khaleesi or even Daenerys. I like Arya, and it's similar to real names. But as you said, Julian exists outside Star Trek. Tilde OP updated the post same day. Tilde. Update. Okay, I didn't expect to get so much engagement on this post. Thanks everyone who shared their judgment and their stories. I'm sorry I can't respond to everyone, but I will read all. Now to the update. I showed this post to my husband and he read the comments. He's still reading and laughing sometimes, but he's already admitted that he was stressing over it too much and building up unlikely scenarios in his head. As I suspected, he's just very nervous about becoming a dad and wants everything to be perfect. He also asked to add that he's not a stubborn, no-fun-allowed person as he comes off in this post, which I can confirm. Anyway, Julian is back in the game. If the game was darts, he'd definitely win, but we'll still look around for other names we like. Thanks. Story 3. Me, 32 per M, and my wife, 29 per F, fighting about colleague, 22 per F. She thinks it's inappropriate. I think she's just being possessive. Original post, September 29, 2014. Edit. I know this is long, but it's necessary. My marriage might be on the line. Help a bro out. My wife and I have been married for 2 years, together for 8. She's never been the jealous type till just recently with this situation. I started a new job about a year ago. It's a management position and requires a lot of recruiting. I've been doing pretty good building a team. I need to in order to advance further, and I'm so close. I make great money doing what I do, and have been able to give the wife and I a much better quality of life as a result. Anyway, one of my recent recruits is a young female. She's a great addition to my team. She brings in awesome numbers, very teachable and all around just fun to have in the office. And yes, she's very attractive. But I'm faithful and love my wife and would never do something inappropriate. The wife hates her. I'm not used to this from her. I've had female friends and colleagues in the past. Attractive ones, too. It's never been a problem. But this girl... Holy shit. We've been fighting constantly now. Part of team building and keeping your team is being social with them. This is encouraged by the higher-ups who even cover the cost of nights out to hang out with your team in an informal setting. We encourage team members to bring their spouses, too. Well, like 3 weeks ago, we were supposed to have one of these nights. But we had 2 road trips going on, so most of my team was out of town. I only had the new girl and another new guy in town, and the new guy bailed. Normally my wife would come, but she was working. So it ended up just being my new girl and myself, eating wings and having some drinks. My wife called to say she was off and could come join. But I decided that since everyone was gone, that maybe she should sit this one out because my new girl was really new, and I didn't want to third wheel her. Wife didn't like that. 2 it off. The new girl thinks she's being funny and says loudly, "Come back to bed." Wife gets pissed, but it's unprofessional for me to fight with her on the phone in front of a new recruit, so I kinda cut her short and said I had to go. My intention was to smooth it over later. I also BTW told my new girl that wasn't actually funny and it was also inappropriate, and I'd appreciate her holding herself to a higher professional standard in dealings with people related to our business in the future. Well, wife wasn't having it when I got home. And eventually in the berating I said something like, "She's not even attractive. You have nothing to worry about. Anyway, I only love you." She's still pissed but calms down a little and whatever. Then the following week I'm talking to a few people in my office somewhat informally. I basically told my team to get in here for a second to go over something. I only have 2 chairs besides mine in there. So, those are taken. I have 2 people sitting on a low bookshelf in the back, a few leaning against the walls, etc. New girl comes in last, looks around, and sits on the edge of my desk farthest from me. We have our meeting. Everyone leaves but the new girl. She has a question about what I said. Naturally, she turns more towards me as she's talking to me, whatever. Well, that's the moment my wife walks in with my phone charger and a Starbucks for me. So all she sees is the new girl sitting on my desk, leaned in towards me, talking to me. I've never seen my wife act like this, but it was embarrassing. She put the stuff down on the nearest surface and just walked out. Well, I'm not going to chase her. That'll look bad. So I finish talking to NG, then try to call my wife, who won't answer. So I get home later and she's in the shower, crying. TF? I go in the bathroom and pull back the curtain and she's literally sitting in the tub, knees to her chest, crying in the shower. Why? This is ridiculous. So I get pissed off and leave. I call a few work bros and meet at the bar. Well, fucking luck of all luck, NG shows up with them because two of the guys I called were with her already. And she's dressed to the 9S. She takes a big group selfie shot and posts it on Facebook. Well, guess what? Yup, the wife saw, and comments, "Nice to see you having so much fun," per S. To which NG responds, "He's in good hands." And I know that sounds like innuendo, but she swears it's not. I talked to NG and she really said that as an assurance, like, "Don't worry, he's in good hands," and didn't even think about the fact it could be misconstrued. Anyway, I get home, more crying from the wife. She says I'm being willfully ignorant and that it's obvious this girl likes me and is stirring trouble and that I'm refusing to see it, or that I must really think she, my wife, is stupid. She asked me if she could look at my phone. Like, are you kidding me? I obviously said no. Then she cried more that I obviously have something to hide, especially because I lied about NG being attractive. Now, for the last 2 days, I've gotten complete silent treatment. What the fuck? I haven't done anything wrong. And NG is a good employee. I can't fire her or something for my wife. Like, what the fuck does she want me to do? No one's done anything wrong. Hello, Doctor. Wife is being crazy jealous over nothing. UTF do I do? And yeah, I hear you, but I really haven't been unfaithful, just a dick. Update 1 September 29th, 2014. Okay, guys. It's clear you all think I'm at best the stupidest person alive and at worst some kind of monster. First off, I would never sleep with NG, and while yes, I can recognize that she's physically attractive by most standards, I am not attracted to her. Especially not after all the fucking drama her very existence has been causing me. Secondly, I'm not a bad husband. We've had 8 wonderful years together and have been through some pretty tough things before and come out stronger than ever. I've just never been in a situation like this one before. I'm pretty average looking. In fact, my wife is very attractive, and normally it would be me with insecurities. But I've never made my insecurities her problem. Thirdly, I'm willing to admit some of you may be right about what's going on. If it's so obvious to so many people, including my wife, I'm not arrogant enough to say you're all wrong and I'm right. I mean, I posted for a reason after all. Finally, though, I'm still not sure how to proceed. We don't have an HR as we're still a small office. It's basically my boss, 2 other PPL at my level, and our teams. Sales Ps. The way you guys are talking, I'm a little frightened that this get turned on me if NG wants to be vindictive or something. I haven't done anything inappropriate, but I'm higher up in mail. And given how I've apparently fucked this up, how would my wife react if NG tried to allege anything against me for letting her go or something? Relevant comment. Croatanchik. First off, I would never sleep with NG, and while yes, I can recognize that she's physically attractive by most standards, I am not attracted to her. I don't think a single one of us has really said that you are or would. You're still missing the point. Especially not after all the fucking drama her very existence has been causing me. But you still don't really think that the drama is her fault, do you? You're still blaming your poor wife. If NG tried to allege anything, this is why I think that you should preemptively report her shenanigans to HR yourself. Nip this in the bud now. But you won't, because you still don't get it. OP. What if I have my boss a rundown of what's been happening and we just switch her to another team? She'll still exist in the office, but I won't be working with her anymore. That way she won't try to turn this around. Or should I fire her completely and risk it to prove something to my wife? I mean, I'm willing if that's what it takes. I'm so fucking confused. Croatanchik. Oh, and you should probably do this anyway. But you know your boss better than any of us do. What do you think his reaction would be? OP. He's a good old boy. He'll probably laugh his ass off at me, or, because he's married to the business, be super pissed I let all this happen. Either way, his first priority will be getting a hold of the business end of this situation because he won't want blowback of any kind. We're buddies, though, so even if I get yelled at, I'm not worried about my job. I think I'm going to talk to my wife first, though. I might even let her read all this. I just know my boss will take this by the horns, so I want her opinion first so I can be her advocate when having that convo with my boss. 'Cause I think you're right. NG should probably not be anywhere in the building. I'm still just scared now of blowback. With my wife not feeling great about me right now, if NG alleges anything or tries to spread lies, why would my wife believe me? I really truly didn't realize what NG was doing until taking a thrashing from all of you. I honestly thought you guys would agree with me that my wife was overreacting, and at worst, this series of events was unfortunate, but she should trust me. I feel like such a fucking loser. Thanks you, remember Kumvali and Ukrotanchik. I know you think I'm an asshole puts, but you've been patient in explaining this to me. Remember Kroom Valley? This is just... You realize that you're still being me, right? Your wife was sobbing on hands and knees in the shower. There is a damn good chance you have lost her already. If it were me, I'd have a bag packed before you got home from work today and make sure to turn out all the lights on my way out. You have to apologize, you have to crawl. Because at this point, you don't deserve anything that looks like forgiveness. I'm so sorry. I was a colossal moron, and I don't know what I can do to make it up to you is where you start, and from there you have to listen to the answer. And if the answer is, go away, you're going to have to accept that too. Eep. Go away? Seriously? I never fucked this girl. I've never even flirted with her. The crying in the shower thing, yeah, that was fucking stupid. Out of all, I feel the most bad about that. Because I did have control over that. No one was watching. There are no excuses. But our relationship to fall apart after 8 years over a sequence of events that have only been over about 3-4 weeks? That's a bit extreme, don't you think? I need to know what to do next so I don't keep fucking up. On both fronts. Begging for forgiveness is a good start. I just wish I understood this more. I hear what all of you are saying and I can understand how it looks, but I just wish I really understood how all this happened. Update 2, September 29th, 2014. Okay. Well, I've been talking to my wife off and on all day since I posted. Been echoing some of your sentiments and apologizing, trying to be empathetic. But she really isn't too interested in anything I have to say, although is actually speaking to me nonetheless, so I guess that's something. I have NG an assignment that requires her to be mostly out of the office and in the field next couple days under supervision of someone else, so we shouldn't really have contact for now while this is getting sorted. Going home now. I'd say wish me luck, but I doubt you will. I'll update later. Update 2B September 30th, 2014. It went about as well as could be expected. I explained that I really didn't get the whole situation, but that I do now. I showed her this thread. I apologized and told her I was willing to do whatever I could to make this right. I reassured her over and over and over again that I didn't cheat on her. She's not sure she believes me about cheating or sincerely understanding what I've done wrong, but in any case, she's incredibly hurt. After much discussion and tears and begging, from me, this is what she wants from me: space. She wants me to move out for a while, and she doesn't have a set time for when I can come back. Counseling, for both of us as a couple and separately. She says this incident isn't the first time that I've been unable to see things from her point of view and have hurt her as a result. And not only that, but she feels she needs help trusting me again. Like many of you, she thinks, putting it mildly, that NG needs to go away, far, far away, and she wants me to tell NG why, and wants to be able to listen in somehow. I don't know how I'm supposed to do that. I feel like does cross some sort of line professionally, whether I'm willing or not. Finally, she said she doesn't know what's going to happen with us even if I do all these things. She cried a lot, which isn't surprising. I feel awful and scared and really fucking stupid. I love my wife. I haven't done a good job of showing it lately. I realize that now, but I really don't want to lose her. I'll be speaking to my boss tomorrow about how best to deal with this as far as letting her go or transferring her or something. Wife wants her fired, period. I'll see what I can do. I'm in a motel right now. I spoke to my father and he pretty much told me I'm an idiot and to do whatever it takes to fix this. My parents are very fond of my wife, Thanks again, guys. I didn't know how bad this was. God only knows how much worse this would have gotten. Relevant comment. Oh, when told NG should be fired. I'm aware she should be fired. If you've read all my posts in this thread, I've figured this out. I spoke with my boss today. After first making sure I truly hadn't done something inappropriate with her, he has agreed she needs to go. You have to understand that the culture of our small office is very informal. We all make off-color jokes and rag on each other and good around. But at the same time, our images are important. I may joke around with you and be your buddy outside of work, but make no mistake. I should appear to you to also be serious about the business and have my shit together. That's why I don't like scenes or letting on about troubles in my personal life. My wife has always understood how this works. That's why when that first very inappropriate joke was made, I tried not to make much of it. I thought it possible that NG, having seen how the office camaraderie works, just thought she was being funny but failed. So as I said, I spoke to her about that being inappropriate, but didn't make it a huge deal. I also thought, given my wife's knowledge of how the office works, and her being exposed to it before, that she might be overreacting. A major fail and error? I know that now. I was seeing the things going on as isolated events, all with explanations, not as one entire fuck around like it actually was. I'm very embarrassed by my oversight as a professional and extremely sorry as a husband. The part about letting her go that is tough is that she is a good employee in the sense that she hits and exceeds all her sales targets and is very well liked and considered a hard worker. It will be very obvious exactly why she's getting fired given that. Now that I have a grasp of this situation for what it is, I fear, and my boss agrees, that she may be the type of person to make her termination messy. Given we're a newer office, this is problematic. My boss believes we were being baited from the start, and that she not only knew what she was doing, but that it probably had little to do with me, and more to do with her trying to set herself up for something or create some sort of sordid leverage. I have no idea. All I know is I have to fix this immediately, but carefully. But the wife doesn't want careful. She wants swift, decisive action she can savor. I get that, I do. But that is the part I'm trying to figure out now. OOP on the legality of recording the firing or the firing itself. Not in a state. I don't reside in the U.S. We don't think she has a legal leg to stand on. It's the court of opinion and the company's rep we're worried about. I told my boss if it came to that I'd leave. I hope that's not the case, though, as my wife got me this job and, despite this incident, has been proud of my work here. I was injured a few years ago and couldn't work my labor job. She knew a higher-up here and got my foot in the door with no experience. I'd hate to leave as a disgrace with nothing else on my resume for this field of work. It would be very hard to continue leading the lifestyle we do. Kroatenchik. Jesus. And your wife got you the job. Well, it's all well and good, but your marriage should absolutely come first. So you're firing NG when? OP. When she comes into the office after being in the field today, the boss will be present. We've decided to just get it over, quick like ripping off a Band-Aid. Deal with fallout if there is any, as it comes. She will be told why. And I'm going to record it on my phone for my wife, but I'll have to make sure I delete it right after. I'm going by our place tonight to grab a few more things, so I'll show her then. BTW, for those who may be curious, my boss was pretty exasperated with me and told me very firmly, not let anything like this happen again, because if I can't control my team members, I shouldn't be in my position. He admitted our personal friendship saved me here, and that I get just one, and this was it. Update 3 October 1st, 2014. Late reply, I know, but it was a day. NG took her firing. Okay. She did heavily deny that her intention was not to be inappropriate. She also expressed some upset that it was unfair since other people in the office make jokes too. My boss spoke up at that point to say that others don't make jokes like that and that I had already warned her once about being inappropriate in that particular regard. Again, she denied that her comment about me being in good hands was anything other than an innocent mistake. Again, my boss stepped in and said that as a new employee, she was still under probation, and therefore he could dismiss her without explanation if he wanted, and that he just did not feel she was a good fit. He threw the ball back to me, so to speak, and asked if I agreed, and I said yes, we were in agreement. She just sort of shrugged and said, "Well, I don't know what to say then. Goodbye, I guess." And then as she collected her things and left, she threw a pot shot at me that in my dreams she'd be interested in me. My wife listened to the recording. I don't think it was what she wanted. She seemed disappointed. I think she wanted me to really tell NG off good. And maybe I should have. But my boss was involved, and we were trying to get rid of NG without rocking the business. Wife was happy, though, that NG is gone. But then got kind of weird. I was confused because I thought that's what she wanted. She ended up crying and basically said that she was still scared that I'd see NG. Especially with me staying at a motel, who knows what I'm doing? She doesn't know what to think anymore. With me out of the house, she has to trust me. But right now, she doesn't trust me. So I said there was nothing to worry about, like my saying that mattered in any way, and that if she wanted, I'd stay at the house, but in our spare room or something. That wasn't good either, 'cause she doesn't want me there right now. So I just admitted that I really didn't know what to do then. She said she didn't even know what she wants either. I ended up taking a beat to call my parents and asked if I could stay with them for a while. They said that was okay. My wife liked that arrangement more as well, I guess, because then I'm supervised. I tried not to be insulted by that because I know I'm in the wrong here, so I should just take it. While sitting on the couch talking, watching her cry, she asked me to just hold her. I had tried to earlier, but she pushed me away. Anyway, so I held her. Then we ended up kissing then, etc., etc. I'll let you fill it in. But I was kicked back out shortly after to pack my things from the motel and go to my parents. She said she still loves me, of course, but that she's still pissed off and hurt and unsure of things regardless of what happened tonight. And seeing how hurt she is, and being so scared of not having her anymore, I'm really getting how much I've sucked lately, and not even just in this scenario. She's been really patient with me, and I've been fucking up. I reread my original post, and I'm actually embarrassed at how selfish I've been. Story 4. ATA for not giving my girlfriend my SSN so she can run a background check on me. Original post. December 31st, 2024. I, 27M, have been in a relationship with my girlfriend, 31F, for almost a year now. This evening she sat me down and said she needs to have a serious conversation with me, and she asked for my social security number. I said absolutely not. Why would you need that? And she told me about her ex-boyfriend that was basically living a double life. He had a bunch of criminal charges in his past that he'd never told her about, and eventually exposed her to some sketchy and dangerous behavior before she broke things off after he cheated. I said, okay, thank you for telling me that, but what does that have to do with my social security number? She said ever since then she's had her friend that works for the federal government run background checks on people to make sure they're safe. And because our relationship is progressing, she needs to know I'm a safe partner for her, so she wants my SSN to check my criminal history. Now, for the record, I don't even have a parking ticket. I'm a nerd and a gym rat. All I do is work, go to school, play Dungeons and Dragons, come home, watch anime, rinse and repeat. So I don't care about a background check. She won't find anything. But I'm not giving out my SSN. I don't feel comfortable enough providing that to her friend. When I said that, she got upset and said I don't understand what women go through and it's about safety. And I admitted she's right. I have no idea what women go through, but that doesn't mean I'm giving my SSN out to a complete stranger. She says he isn't a stranger. He's one of her best friends and married to a close friend of hers. And I said, honey, that's great. But I don't know him. I don't trust him because I don't know him. That's my information you're asking for. You can trust him with your personal information if you want, but no one I don't know is getting my SSN or critical details. It's just not happening. And she said that our relationship isn't going to be able to progress unless I give him my SSN because she needs to know that she's safe. And she's offended that I don't trust her taste in friends. I got up and left at that point and told her I respect her concerns. But her past trauma doesn't give her the right to try and strong-arm me into giving out sensitive information to someone I don't know just because he works for the federal government and has access to a database. I used to work for the federal government, so I can say from experience, everyone working there isn't some wonderful person. I'm not assuming he's a monster or anything, but just working for the feds doesn't prove anything to me. She called me insensitive and hasn't spoken to me since. Personally, I feel like she was gaslighting me into giving her what she wants, but I'm not sure. Result, OP is voted overwhelmingly NTA. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA, sketchy AF. Is this relationship progress about moving in together or intimacy? It's kinda giving me long-distance vibes along with scam. Trust your gut. OP's response, yeah, it's about moving in together. She's talking about wanting to take the next step in our relationship, which I was cool with until this. Commenter 2 was heavily downvoted, NTA, but neither is she. I'd recommend a background check and a credit report before a relationship reaches the point where you are sharing a home and commingling finances. Perhaps you can agree on a third-party service where you can provide the details and she can see the results. And you should do the same for her. OOP's response. After reading the comments here, I have to disagree. I don't have a problem with a background check, but demanding my SSN being given to a complete stranger is beyond the pale. She's demanding that I put my private information at risk to alleviate her concerns, as if my concerns about what could happen if someone that shouldn't have it got a hold of my SSN, as her concerns are that I'm a bad actor. Commenter 2's response. I'm specifically saying do not give her or her friend your SSN. Find an online background check service and you fill out the information yourself. Then do a background check on her. Then do credit reports. Sit and do this together. If you are in a serious relationship, you are and will be taking much more serious risks. What if she gets pregnant? How big are the student loans, car loans, or whatever that you are taking responsibility for? Does she have a criminal background that will affect her employability in the future? She has a fair and legitimate concerns, and so should you. The method she is suggesting to resolve it is just wrong. Commenter 3, NTA. I just had a background check completed. I've had them every 5-ish years for the last 20 because I volunteer with children. Some in state, some federal. I also have been screened by the Gov for a permit several times. I've never had to provide a SSN. Sadly, I think your GF may the criminal and you may be her long con mark. Commenter 4's response. That's what I'm saying. You don't need the SSN to run a good background check these days. Everything is there online. Jail records and court documents are free. All you need is the city, name, and date of birth to find everyone's criminal history with pictures to prove it's really them. Commenter 5. Her government friend is committing a felony. NTA. You want no part of this. Commenter 6's response to Commenter 5. Right. I should trust my SSN with someone who commits felonies by abusing their federal access to records? Nope. NTA. Commenter 7's response to Commenter 5. If you can get the full name of the friend that works for the federal government and the agency they work for. Once you know what agency he works for, contact their inspector general about how your girlfriend wants you to send this person your SSN so they can run an unauthorized background check on you using their access to government systems. This is not something they will take lightly and will probably spur an investigation. This person does not deserve to work for the federal government. Our Fed News may have some additional advice if you want to ask there as well. Also, you've been dating for a year. If she hasn't figured out whether you're a good person or not, yet maybe it's time to find someone else. Commenter 8. Hey female here, waving hand emoji. Run. Update. January 3rd, 2025. After reading the comments I've been getting over the last few days, I decided to call her on New Year's Eve and give things one last chance because I'm the type of person that needs to know I did everything I could before I walk away from a relationship. And some people said she has valid concerns, she just went about them the wrong way, which made sense. I told her I understand and respect your need to ensure your safety, but I'm not willing to potentially compromise my safety to make you feel safe by handing over my SSN to someone I don't know and don't trust. And it's illegal for him to even use a federal database for personal reasons. So that's out, but what I will do is pay for a background check of your choosing so long as it's a legitimate service and give you the results. I will not be providing my social security number to anyone, but my address, date of birth, etc. are all fair game. She refused and said that she has chosen a background check. and that's having her friend do it because she knows that she can trust him. So I said, if that's how you feel, and you won't budge, then the issue here is trust. And I'm not willing to stay in a relationship with a woman that doesn't trust me because of some shit that doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm not paying for another man's sins. And I'm not giving you my social security number because your ex was a criminal. She started crying and asking why I can't understand that it's not about me. It's about her? And I said, you made it about me when you asked for my SSN. She got pissed and started accusing me of lying about caring about her safety and saying if I really cared, then I'd have no problem doing this because I don't understand how vulnerable women are in society. So I said I was willing to work with you up to a reasonable point, but now you're just trying to manipulate me, and I don't feel safe being with you anymore. Because if this is how you react when you don't get your way about having my SSN, what happens the next time we have a major disagreement or a serious situation come up? Are you going to keep crying to try and get your way or throw out another ultimatum to try and force me into doing what you want? She started saying that as a man, I can't understand what it's like to go through life as a woman and have to be afraid, and that this is what she has to do for her safety and security, and I need to just respect that and give her what she needs for her comfort. I was like, I tried to compromise, you wouldn't accept it. There's nothing more to say here. And to be clear, I wasn't exactly calm. I have severe anxiety, so this was a really, really hard conversation for me to have. I was actively pacing around my house and sweating and forcing words out the entire time. Then she started crying and asking about New Year's, because we were supposed to spend it with her parents. I said you should have thought about that before you tried to strong-arm me into getting your way. This isn't a... And everyone stood up and applauded moment. That's just how things went. I hung up and now we're over. Obviously I'm hurt, but I'm realizing I dodged a bullet because there's no reason shit should have gotten this fucking messy. And before anyone tries to jump me in the comments again, I offered to pay for the check. She refused because it wasn't the test she wanted. I feel like I made a good faith effort to resolve things. Hate to ring in the new year without a kiss under the mistletoe, but it is what it is. I don't know if she really is that concerned I'm some lunatic criminal, or if she's trying to scam me like a lot of you said. Either way, it's over now. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. If you know which friend she was going to have run the background check, report him to his employer because he's 100% going to get investigated and likely fired for misusing personal information. Commenter 2's response. There's no friend. She was going to take out a loan in his name and or get some credit cards to max out. She was trying to scam him. Commenter 3, heavily downvoted. I don't understand why you engaged so much. It's like you wanted a fight out of this. Then you accused her of being manipulative. If you don't want to do it, just say no and take the consequences. Don't get up in her face about it, especially since she's seemingly been through some shit already. You just reinforced her being afraid of men. ESH, she should have taken your compromise, but you went over the top trying to prove yourself right. You both sound insufferable. Edit. I struck a nerve with this one. YOOP's response. Respectfully, have someone that you love, that claims they love you get in your face and start screaming at you, comparing you to an abuser and blatantly gaslighting you, and then see how you feel about it. No, I wasn't going to just take that lying down. And if me standing up for myself reinforced her being afraid of men, she doesn't need to be in a relationship, she needs mental health assistance, and I hope she gets it so she can eventually be a healthy person, not for a future partner, but herself. Story 5. Tough for potentially breaking up my aunt's marriage? Original post, September 28, 2024. This is difficult to explain, and things are still hard. I, 17M, lost my parents last year, and I'm still going through lots of counseling, especially since I felt so much rage at the other driver that T-boned them, driving recklessly with his phone out texting. My mother had siblings out of state, and her parents, my maternal grandparents, that lived an hour away. I am extremely close to the entire maternal side of my family, and they have been awesome giving emotional support this entire time, even from far away. It turns out my father has a sister, my Aunt Judy, 42F, who lives in town. but has been estranged from my father's side of the family for years, for reasons I didn't understand yet. My father's wishes haven't been updated since whatever falling out happened, and my Aunt Judy was listed as the preferred person to be my guardian. She lived in town, and it would mean I could stay in school where I grew up. She seemed really eager as well. She was married to Gary, 40 SM, who was an all-right guy and worked at a counseling office and even helped get me a referral to an awesome counselor who has helped me work through a lot of stuff. The problem is Judy is a control freak. I show up and she instantly said that I needed to drop all my father's bad teachings. She tried to put me on an insane diet the second my foot entered the door. Gary got her to back off on the insane diet stuff, but it never ended. She kept bad-mouthing my parents about how my dad, her brother, raised me wrong. It was actually close to torture, and Gary did his best to make her back off, but whenever he was gone, she would go right back and try to parent me again. The final straw for me was when we went to my parents. We got weekly to clean stuff up, keep the house maintained. I guess now my house and Aunt Judy made comments that she would like to destroy some of my dad's things. I instantly saw red and told her she has no right. She tried to lord over that as my only parent. She had every right to make me not turn out like her brother. I called my grandparents and blessed them. They put the fear of God into her. She backed off, and I have been living at my family home again with my grandmother ever since, with my grandfather stopping in every weekend. I've kept in contact with Gary, who has been awesome the whole time, but Aunt Judy has made no attempt to talk to me again. I found out that Gary has started the divorce process and our visits have become less frequent, even though Gary has continued to offer support. I talked to Gary about this mess, and he admitted to me that if not for me being in the mix, he would have never known about how badly Aunt Judy would have acted with kids in the mix. He then said it was not my fault, and it was never my fault. He was actually grateful to know me and that I am a fine young man. Still, despite Gary's words, I can't help but feel responsible for being dumped into their lives, Aunt Judy's words, and disrupting their marriage by causing strife. I feel awful being even an indirect cause of their divorce, and wonder if I could have just tolerated Aunt Judy's behavior until I graduated high school. Ada has no consensus bot. OP was NTA. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA. She was estranged for a reason, and she made that abundantly clear to you and Gary. I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm glad you're in therapy. Commenter 2, NTA. Your aunt added more trouble to your life when what you needed was stability and affection. You didn't break up their marriage. It turns out their marriage was based on a lie, that Judy appeared to be a decent human being, and Gary is now correcting that. Judy destroyed her own marriage, and unfortunately you had to witness it. It sounds like Gary is a good guy, though. I hope you can keep him in your life. More supportive and caring people always welcome. Commenter 3, NTA. Your Aunt Judy's behavior was responsible for their divorce, period. In fact, sounds like Gary is a great guy, and you may have saved him from living the rest of his life with a very demented and controlling person. I'm guessing some of the problems were there long before you arrived, and obviously they remained after you left, because if the problem was just you being there would be no reason for the divorce, right? Gary sounds awesome, and he probably just wants to be happy and with someone who isn't a monster. So instead of worrying about if you broke them up, think of it more that you've opened up Gary's life to good humans. I'm sure his life will be better off for it. Update #1, September 30th, 2024, 2 days later. Someone sent me a private message with a link to what was supposedly my aunt's post from months ago. It was deleted, but from the comments it mentioned things that did happen, like my aunt's die-hard vegan diet and my father's gun safe. Last night I contacted Aunt Judy for the last time. She sounded like she's been angry 24/7 and didn't know how to stop being angry. She blamed me for her marriage's collapse. She blamed my father, her brother, for being a little shit. She cursed out her dead father, my grandpa, for raising us wrong. She blamed Gary for not backing her up. She even cursed out my mother and her parents for raising a little psycho, me, I guess. I have no memory of this woman until I moved in with her half a year ago. I was told she was around a lot before I was 5, but I literally can't remember a thing about her. Now I'm glad my only exposure to her is only half a year. I told her I wish she would be happy instead of angry, and that just got her screaming some more until I hung up. I will never talk to her again. Top comments. Commenter 1. NTA, you are not at fault for your aunt's marriage breaking. She did that all by herself. Your Uncle Gary has said confirmed that. How low does someone stoop to be that vile on the departed? Sad part is that she will probably never learn. Commenter 2. Oh, you are definitely not the one at fault for the marriage going down the drain. Your aunt is a miserable and abusive control freak, and Gary probably just didn't see anymore how bad she actually was, because it slowly turned this bad. So when you were brought to them and he saw the sudden rules imposed on you, he realized what a horrible human being she was. You, in an essence, saved him from a miserable life. Now he'll be free to find a lovely, sane woman. Update #2. January 11th, 2025, 3.5 months later. Last week I got off the phone with my, I guess no longer Uncle Gary. His divorce terms with Aunt Judy has been finalized, and now they have to wait out a clock or something like that. Last night Aunt Judy showed up and dumped a garbage bag of items I left at her place, like the hot plate and skillet, the hot plate smashed and the skillet mostly unharmed. We didn't talk, and my grandma wants to get stuff like legal guardianship and a restraining order in place. But we only have about a year to wait until I turn 18. Despite the dumping of the trash bag, my Aunt Judy has stayed far away and seems fearful of my maternal grandparents. Overall, I'm doing better, and I'm not seeing the therapist as much, and I'm trying to figure out where I should go next in life. Top comments. Commenter 1. Sounds like you're handling this way better than most would. Aunt Judy's behavior says a lot more about her than it does about you. Props to your grandparents for having your back. You're almost at 18. Keep pushing through. Commenter 2. I am very sorry for your loss. Be sure of a few things. While your being in the home may have opened Gary's eyes to his wife's behavior, you are in no way responsible for their split, and you may have done him a favor. Immediately after your parents' death is no time to introduce you to new things, especially if that means bad-mouthing your parents. There is nothing wrong with a vegan diet for people who want to follow a vegan diet. It is healthy and good for the environment. Forcing this diet on you when everything else in your life was changing was just stupid. It's good to hear your grandparents are helping you. Commenter 3. NTA. You didn't blow up their marriage. You helped Gary probably more than you know. Chances are he overlooked things she did because they didn't affect anyone else. With you, he could no longer overlook them and had to open his eyes. He sounds like he may want children one day, so you essentially also saved those children from having a mother like her. You didn't blow anything up. You saved several people, including your Uncle Gary, who helped save you. Story 6. Eta for not wanting to sign something from my wife's employer without speaking to a lawyer. Original post, November 25th, 2024. Sorry if this is long. I usually don't post on Reddit, but a friend suggested I do for advice. For a few years, my wife has been working hard to make a go of being a VTuber streamer. She had her own little character, got a bit of a following, and ended up getting another character to stream, as with a talent agency that specializes in that. I'm only vaguely familiar with this. I know there are massive agencies. I don't think hers is a very popular or big agency, although it does have a large following online. So far, it's been going really well. She's been able to make it her full-time job and seems really happy with everything. I am too, and am immensely proud of her knowing the level of dedication she's put into it. About a month ago, I got a weird email from someone claiming to be with this talent agency. I didn't even notice it at first. It went to my spam box, was worded weirdly, and something seemed off about it, so I didn't pay any mind to it. I figured it was spam because I'm subscribed to my wife everywhere possible in the talent agency. However, I then got another one and another one asking me to respond as soon as I can. The TLDR of the email is they want me to sign a legal agreement that says A, I won't represent myself as wife's VTuber character or wife's actual legal name romantic partner in any online or in-person event capacity, and B, in the event we were to split up, I would be forbidden from revealing any information regarding a breakup or divorce to protect her anonymity and identity. I read through the legal agreement, and it appears to have been done up by an actual lawyer and everything. It was, frankly, dumbfounded. As I mentioned, I'm only vaguely familiar with the world of VTubers and anime streamers, so I understand how the majority of VTubers keep their identities hidden, and that there is an element of purity in this sort of idle stuff that would cause fans to be disillusioned, which honestly seems so stupid. That said, I know some comments on Stream's videos have connected her new character to her old one. She never hid her identity on her old one, but never went out of her way to show it. What I'm trying to say is if someone did a handful of Google searches, finding who my wife is, or at least looks like, isn't exactly an impossibility. When I got home from work, I brought it up to my wife. I could tell she knew it was coming and was being avoidant of talking about it. I asked if she had some concern that I was going to go online and just dox her, but she said it was just how this industry works. I remembered a time a couple weeks ago I posted a few photos of us on Twitter, where I have less than 100 followers, and she seemed kind of panicky, asking me to take them down because she didn't like how she looked, or how she kept loudly mentioning or randomly interjecting about reading how locking accounts or making them super private was really good for security. She had deleted some of her personal accounts at this time too. Long story short, she just told me to sign it and that it was more of a formality to make her employment smoother. The thing is, this is a legal agreement. It's been drafted up by, as far as I can tell, a legitimate law office that represents this talent agency. There are other clauses in this agreement that I won't get into, but are frankly as ridiculous as the two I mentioned. I admitted I would be happy to help her if it would make things easier, but I wanted to speak to a lawyer first before signing anything just to be safe. We argued about it a bit, and I think she saw where I was coming from when I asked why I was the only one who had to sign anything. What about friends, family, past employers, teachers, ex-BFs, etc.? She kind of huffed about it but said I could see a lawyer but to book it fast because she didn't want it to be some big delay. She was quite cold with me for the next few days. For example, I faked sick to stay home one day to make us dinner because her streaming time overlaps with when I'm home, so we haven't had many meals together since she started. I told her it was ready and she just asked me to put it in the fridge because she had to prep for a collaboration stream. She's also sent me a couple texts as she's streaming reminding me to be quiet or suggesting I go hang out with friends or something until she's done. I got a little fed up with the treatment and finally asked if she was being pissy with me because I didn't sign it, and she said, "What do you think? Yes, obviously." I asked her what she would do if my job legally demanded she put down in writing what her job is asking of me. She said, "I would sign it. I wouldn't stand in the way of your dreams." I asked if she genuinely thought I was standing in the way of her dreams. That really hurt to hear considering the amount of love and time I've given her towards this, the encouragement, the hours I've spent reassuring her she's talented and does a good job, and frankly the thousands upon thousands of dollars I've helped her for equipment, commissioning artists, etc. She rolled her eyes and huffed, so I asked again, and she shouted, "If you don't sign it, then yes, because they're already being weird with me and passing me over for certain opportunities, and I know it's because you haven't signed it yet. I have a meeting with a lawyer next week to go over it, but I am getting pretty guilt-tripped by her and her parents for not blindly signing it." Our friend group is split down the middle, but the general consensus is it would just be easier to sign it to make her happy. I don't think it's unreasonable to want to consult a legal professional over a legal document, but maybe I'm not that good of a husband after all. So, Ada here for wanting to consult with a lawyer over this? Result, Ada doesn't have a voting bot, but the majority of Redditors commented NTA, relevant comma. Commenter 1, NTA. The fact that she knew about it but didn't sit down and talk to you first indicates that she isn't to be trusted in this matter. You need your own lawyer. She should have her own lawyer as well, not just trust someone who works for her agency. Commenter 2's response to Commenter 1. I would go a small step further. It shows that she is prioritizing her dream over her marriage. She had every chance to warn OP and talk to him, to make sure this was all on the up and up. She either suspects it isn't and wants to risk it but not tell him, or she flat out knows he doesn't like it and doesn't care. I would have gladly signed such a document if properly asked, but under these conditions I would frankly be reevaluating a lot about my marriage. Commenter 3, NTA. Never sign a legal document without getting legal advice. Never, never, never. Even if you think you understand the plain meaning of each clause, you don't have the training to grasp the full legal ramifications. A lawyer does. This is a lifetime commitment. It contains clauses relating to how you can act even after a divorce. I'm concerned that your wife didn't raise this with you in advance. I think you're looking at her with rose-colored spectacles, which is understandable. If she knew this was something that the agency wanted you to sign, she should have given it to you herself and given you time to get it checked. Instead, she's rushing you to sign it right now, like a used car salesman saying the price is only good for 10 minutes. Seriously, if you didn't get a lawyer to read this for you, you'd be an idiot, and be mentally prepared to push back on elements of it. There may be parts of it that are simply unacceptable. Commenter 4, NTA. Go to a specialist, and you should put a condition, a post-nup, one that she has to repay with interest all the money you invested in her career in case of divorce, on top of equity for any and all propriety, including online pending contracts and LLCs and alimony. Since she's so concerned with the impact you have on her online presence, then you're more than welcome to be concerned about your future. And just as an aside, is this marriage worth it? It doesn't seem to be a good relationship. She's giving you some passive-aggressive silent treatment, no time for anything couple-related, no communication. She's more focused on her followers than you, and it will not change, especially if you're legally bound to be forever hidden. Update. January 11th, 2025. I know it wasn't a super popular post, but I logged on and saw quite a few DMs and comments asking for an update. Here's the original. https://www.reddit.com/r/ATA/comment/1GZTMPM/ATA_for_not_something_from_my. The TL.dar is that my wife joined a VTuber agency. Agency asked me to sign a legal document. I wanted to see a lawyer first, but it caused a bit of a rift in relationship. To answer a lot of people, yes, I saw a lawyer. It was an interesting meeting. The lawyer read through the whole thing with a smirk and said, "The only benefit of signing this would be keeping your wife happy. I wouldn't personally sign it, but if you do and it comes to it, please let me represent you because this is hilarious." She said there's no way it would hold up in a court, especially because if the law firm who represents them decides to sue me for breaching it, they'll have to reveal my wife's identity in court documents that will most likely be public anyway. Instead, she contacted them on my behalf seeking clarification on what happens if any part of the agreement is broken, as it's not stipulated, and if I'm to sign the agreement, what sort of compensation I would receive. I didn't sign it in the end, but have told my wife once the lawyer hears back, and they recommend it, I would. As of writing this post, they haven't responded, and frankly, it hasn't seemingly affected my wife's VTubing career. Things with my wife are still pretty rocky. To address a couple comments, she does actually earn quite well off streaming, donations, subs, etc., slightly less than she was making at her previous job, but enough to still contribute to the household and live comfortably. That said, she won't speak to me about it anymore, though. She's fine otherwise, but if I ask her how things are, I'll get a brush off, a fine, or occasionally, "You don't care. You don't have to keep asking." I'm still rooting for her, and she's still growing every time I check her channels or social medias. She's doing streaming events and collaborations with other VTubers. She seems happy with it all, and that's enough for me. I know her last job was soul-crushing, and she's worked really hard. If she wants to be cold with me about it, that's her call. I'm just happy she's doing something she loves. That's it. Boring update, I know. Sorry. Relevant comments? Commenter 1. Boring update, I know. Sorry. No, thank you for that update. Too few people post updates, and too many people think all threads need to be played out to their ultimate conclusion before posting an update. Spoiler, they never are. It's life. Few things are ever completely finished. That's why they're called updates, not conclusions. Commenter 2's response to Commenter 1. The conclusion is sadly written on the wall here. I read the OG post, and she is treating her husband like crap, She has completely withdrawn. She is immersing herself in the crazy world of influencers and VTube streamers. She is now shutting him out of that world. They will either grow apart, or she will find someone in that world who gets her. It's great to have updates, but my heart aches for OP in all honesty. Story 7. None of my family knows this trip will be the last time they see me. Original post, February 4th, 2024. Firstly, I'm okay physically anyway. Honestly, I have no idea who this is for, but I think I just need it out of my head. The circumstances of my birth were complicated. I broke up 2 marriages, and my family has never been shy about how they feel about me for that. Only one of my brothers has gotten drunk enough to tell me to my face that he resents me for existing, but I know it exists within all of them, at least in some way. I am much younger than all my siblings, and there was so much that happened out of our hands that I made excuses. But my whole life, I've never quite felt part of the family. As a child, I told myself we'd make up for lost time once I got older, and we could talk as equals. Now, at 23, I see glimpses of the life I wished I'd have, but in the end, I'm always too much trouble to involve. I hear everything from my father. I had to find out my niece was in a car accident from him. I had to find out my other niece had a miscarriage from him. I had to find out my oldest brother had a brain tumor haphazardly on a phone call with my father, which he didn't even know I was unaware of. I've known for a while I'm the only one trying, but for the sake of my dreams, I've given every opportunity for them to let me in, but I just can't do it anymore. I have a psychiatric service dog who aids me with CPTSD. He is the single greatest thing to happen to me. Not only did he save my life from myself, but he has made life livable. He can tell when I'm panicking, and he knows pressure therapy to help me through an attack. He stops me from hurting myself in meltdowns, sits with me until the only noise I can hear anymore is his snoring on my lap. He allows me to go grocery shopping by myself. He is my soulmate, and anyone who knows me knows how important he is to me. My dating life isn't thriving, so I took a shot in the dark and asked my niece if she minded if I brought my service dog as my +1 for her wedding at the end of this month. I have to fly across the country to go, so I will be bringing him anyway since I cannot fly alone. I figured it couldn't hurt to see if he could not have to stay in the hotel all night. I do not technically need him for the event, since I'll know every guest and I will be drinking pretty heavily to cope, but getting to spoil him with a bow tie, dancing, and steak sounded like the perfect reward for helping me on my flight. Several times I emphasized that I understood it was an odd request and she could say no if she wanted. She was emphatic that he could come. She said, even if I found a date, he could come. I was elated. For once, I felt seen. I felt cared about. I felt valued. And then I got a call from my dad. No one wanted to make things awkward, but the mother of the bride was not okay with a dog being at the venue. I explained that he is a trained service animal and will not impede the ceremony in any way, and I'd of course remove him if he did. Still, he said they didn't like it. I was so tired of hearing everyone else's words through my father. He won't be around forever, and sooner or later, they will have to start talking to me. I had one request: let the bride tell me. When I asked her, she said yes, and until she told me she changed her mind, I was under the assumption he could go. Well, I never heard back. My dad kept dropping hints when I'd call him, but I told him what my expectations were. When I RSVP'd, I put my dog as my +1 on the response to let them know I wasn't backing down this time. At this point, I didn't even care if she said he couldn't go. I just wanted to hear it from her. The next morning, I woke up to an email from my father. Not even a text, a fucking email explaining that my niece didn't want to be the bad guy, but my dog was not welcome at the wedding. He said he was sorry, but he could still come with me to the hotel if I wanted. Something inside me broke, I think. I think I realized this is truly a helpless case. They are never going to respect me the way I crave them to. To this day, not one of our conversations has been started by them. I always initiate, and now the one time I request a direct contact, I get an email. Family means everything to me. Over the last few years, I've redefined what a family can be, and if right now my family needs to be a very damaged orphan and their service animal, I'm grateful I have that much. So, I'm going to the wedding, and then I'm never going to talk to any of them again. And the sad part is, I didn't even think they're going to notice. Update. First, thank you to everyone for the kind words and all the advice. It sincerely means so much that so many people care. I want to address all the questions about why I want to go to this wedding at all. There are plenty of practical reasons that I can name, but the truth is I need to go for my own closure. I have a strange relationship with death and loss. My mother died when I was 5. My family split up right after. I've lost several caregivers to serious diseases, grieving their death as they lived. I've learned how to navigate my grieving process. If I don't go to this wedding, I will regret it. Not only is it my last chance to see my childhood family all together in one place, but if I don't go, I show them they can bully me. I do not want to make a spectacle of my trauma with them, but that does not mean I have to walk away with my tail between my knees. I'm not scared of them. My relationship is non-existent, but I did see my siblings/cousins/nieces and nephews fairly regularly. When I was a kid, they intimidated and bullied me into silence, but I'm not a child anymore. I lived with these people. I can manage one night if for no other reason than to prove they cannot control me. Thanks again for all the kind words. Happy to provide a pup date if someone can tell me how to post pictures from the app. Relevant comment. When told not to go to the wedding, I spent $700 on a plane ticket and $200 on a suit. Least I can do is go drink someone else's liquor and dance my worries away. Besides, it feels like goodbye. The cherry on top is they are all very conservative Christians, and I will be going in a suit with my hair dyed green and makeup done to the nines, so this will be my biggest fuck you, I'm here anyway. I can pull off. Truthfully, my father's memory is starting to go as he gets older, so even if I did explain my feelings, he will end up sharing anyway, so I've made my peace with the fact that it will be a one-way street, because Lord knows they're not going to ask what I'm up to. When told to call the bride directly, the last 20 years of trauma will not be solved with one phone call. This was their last chance to prove to me they want me in their lives. It's not about the dog. It's the fact that all I asked is to be treated like a person and talked to directly, and they have proven to me they don't care, so I'm leaving. I already did my job of reaching out to her, and she said yes. Why is it my job to reach out and make sure she hasn't changed her mind? When told her father is an asshole and he is the one responsible for everything. Thank you. I have felt like the only one who cannot fathom how that conversation could be had over email. It's sadly not uncommon for them to communicate through him, and I always have the receipts after the fact when they're no longer worried about the awkwardness. My brothers don't even know where I work. I am building a career around my job. They couldn't tell you what my relationship status is, and I'd be hard-pressed to tell you if they knew my middle name, to be honest. My father is not innocent, but they are responsible for their part in our relationship. I have stopped reaching out to them directly because I barely hear back, and it's clear they don't really care what I'm saying. I could honestly write a book on the road that's led me to this choice, but who's got the time in this economy? Pup date for everyone asking. February 6th, 2024. He's a 2.5-year-old, black and tan coonhound, dog tax. Update February 26, 2024. Post-wedding update. So I went to the wedding. It went about how I expected it to go, though one can never be ready for a spontaneous conga line. Sadly, there was no secret last-minute invite, nor any secret plot of which the bride was unaware. She felt bad saying no, so she lied, and she didn't want to tell me that, and she still didn't, even at the wedding. No one really said much at all, in fact. The mother of the bride did not speak to me at all. My brother tiptoed around the subject until the end of the night. To his credit, he did apologize. For all the dog stuff, as he said goodbye. Strangely, the apology didn't make me feel much better. There was no big confrontation either, mainly because no one cared to listen to me if I tried. As the reception began, part of me wondered how much I was going to miss the people, the environment, the vibe, really. Truthfully, I surprised myself with how ready I was to leave. Goodbye was short, and bittersweet. The venue was pretty, and the alcohol was free, so I made the best of my night, but I got what I needed out of it, I think. Getting home tonight felt like a weight lifting off my shoulders. I know more than ever that I need to do this, and what I once saw as cutting my family in half, I can now see as clearing space for new family, one that cares. Thank you for all your kind words and all the support for my dog. Arrogance is bliss. March 25th, 2024. You don't love me. You love an idea of me you fabricated in your mind when I was a child. I'm no longer a child. I'm far from perfect, but I'm growing. I'm glowing, and I'm grieving the reality that none of you will ever know the person I become. You call it love, but my scars disagree. You hate my hair, my style, my beliefs. You hate me. And the saddest part is, I don't even think you know you do. Story 8. Should I remove my wig to accommodate a coworker's sensory perception issues? Original post, February 2nd, 2024. I'm a middle-aged woman with hair loss. It's not alopecia. It is caused by my hypothyroidism, but I have been told it's technically not considered medical hair loss. This is important. I wear wigs like all the time. I rarely leave the house without one on, and I frequently wear them in my home too. Jay is a coworker who has autism, anxiety, and multiple sensory perception issues. The company is committed to accommodating these, and I completely agree with that. For a little context, my son and daughter are both neurodivergent and have their own differences, which I hope their workplaces will always accommodate. Jay recently learned that I wear wigs. This bothers him to the point of distraction and anxiety where he cannot focus on anything when I am present. He stares at my head and seems unable to stop. He asked me if I could take it off for him, just so he could see my head, and that maybe after that he'd be able to get back to normal. But he admitted he doesn't know if that would work, and that he might still be unable to function normally with me around, wearing my wig. I told him I'd think about it, but everything inside me says no. This was last week, and I haven't seen him since then, but he escalated the matter. I've been told that since I'm essentially wearing my wig for cosmetic reasons, rather than a medical reason, I have to remove it to be in compliance with Jay's accommodations. I then said I would agree to remove it for him privately once, but I do not want to agree to never wear a wig around him. That would be distressing for me. This matter was reviewed for a day before I received a response this morning. Essentially, I have now been told that this is only my vanity, and I need to get on board with accommodating Jay's very real issues, even if that means going wigless at work. I don't know what to do. Should I contact Jay about it personally? Or continue to only communicate through my supervisor and HR? What are my options? ETA. I've been asked how Jay learned I wear wigs. I'm actually very open about it. Jay was present and within clear hearing distance when a colleague and I had a conversation about it. TA. 2. I'm going to share a couple things about me, so this might make more sense. First, I'm known for being very strong, tough. I'm the only woman in my department and in our immediate adjacent departments. My coworkers would likely never think that my hair loss is truly upsetting for me. I'm sure they think that I've taken it in stride and wear wigs for the fun of it. Second, everyone knows my son is autistic, and I care very deeply about the challenges autistic people face. A few years ago, I helped a former coworker, who also has autism, fight for accommodations regarding the mask issue. So, being that I'm perceived as tough, but also quite sympathetic towards the needs of autistic people, I'm sure they all thought that I would immediately agree to whatever would make Jay comfortable. Relevant comments? Only Watron the Forest, info. Who told you your hair loss wasn't medical hair loss? It is caused by my hypothyroidism, but I have been told it's technically not considered medical hair loss. This is important. You have hair loss due to a medical condition, hypothyroidism. Why does your coworker's medical conditions trump yours? OOP. Initially, I was told that by both my insurance company and then my doctor's office when I asked to get a wig covered by my health insurance. My hair loss is a side effect of a medical condition, not a medical condition in and of itself. This is also what was told to me by HR this week when this began. You have hair loss due to a medical condition, hypothyroidism. Why does your coworker's medical conditions trump yours? Company policy states that my hair loss is not a medical condition in and of itself, and thus my wig wearing is only for cosmetic purposes. Jay's sensory perception issues outweigh my vanity. Zucchini Practical 410. Essentially, I have now been told that this is only my vanity, and I need to get on board with accommodating Jay's very real issues, even if that means going wigless at work. Is this what HR is telling you? OOP. Yes. The HR person with whom I have been communicating is a man with hair loss who keeps his head shaved bald. He made a point of mentioning it and expressed that he empathizes with my desire not to be wigless at work, but that doesn't change their stance. The Spanish German. Hers isn't anywhere as serious. She just wants to wear her wig. That might be a legal accommodation, but it's not comparable to sensory issues. Glasses are needed for eyesight, just as crucial as sensory focus. Backpacks are needed to move stuff. Her wig is needed to pretend she has hair that by now everyone knows she hasn't. I get her point, but come on. To say that an autistic person should be effectively put in danger of losing their job because she wants to wear her wig is not only ridiculous, it's downright evil. OOP. No, I do not wear it to pretend I have hair. I sometimes wear high heels, and at 5'10", it's not to pretend I'm taller than I am LOL. I wear wigs because I hate the way I look without them. It makes me cry. It makes me sick to my stomach. I cannot stand for people to see me that way. People do treat me differently when they see me without any head covering, and that is an issue as well. Update. A few hours later on a similar post on a different subreddit. I'm currently having an issue at work which I posted about earlier today here. Earlier in the week I had a brief conversation about it with Emily from HR, who informed me that my coworker had gone to them about his problem with me, and she asked me a few questions. Completely standard procedure here. This morning, I had a conversation with Tim from HR, who is the person actually handling it. Just now I received a message from Emily. She said she wants to call me to talk about it off the record. This may seem self-explanatory, but I'm trying to understand the motivation. Is it off the record for her protection or for mine? Should I even take her call? Update. First, thank you all very much for your advice. I truly appreciate it. Second, Emily is in HR temporarily while someone else, Alicia, is on maternity leave. Third, I decided to take Emily's call but only listen. Emily said she was calling to tell me that when I reply to Tim's email, I can CC Alicia. She said that Alicia is checking her email regularly. I thanked her and we ended the call. The important point here is that Alicia is a black woman who herself wears wigs, and wigs are at the heart of this issue. So she may have a different take on all this. Final update on original post, February 3rd, 2024, one day later. Final edit update. Additional HR people got involved and I've been told I will not have to remove my wig ever. Basically, after this issue was brought to the attention of someone else from HR, Alicia, who also wears wigs but is on maternity leave right now, a lot happened very quickly. I had a video chat with Alicia, Tim, the HR person who initially told me I would have to remove my wig, one of their higher-ups in HR as well as someone from legal. So once the right people were alerted to what was happening, it was taken very seriously. I was assured in the video chat, as well as via text and phone call with Alicia, in addition to multiple emails and documents, that I will not be asked or required to remove my wig. Jay and I are not to have any further communication regarding this. We've both been instructed that if either of us attempts to discuss it with the other, we are to report it. So it's over. I appreciate all the comments, advice, and support I received here. Thank you. Additional comments from OOP on why HR would even entertain this. Why did HR entertain this? Well, unfortunately, in the past, my company had a pattern of failing to provide accommodations to people with disabilities, especially those with invisible disabilities. In recent years, they've been making strong efforts to change that. I think this is an example of the HR rep involved, overzealously attempting to accommodate someone who they already know has disabilities, because they don't want to be accused of not accommodating people again. Story 9. My friends didn't invite me to their wedding, then made me the bad guy. Original post March 31st, 2018. Sorry for the long story. I added a TL.dar. I'm definitely looking for advice, but it comes with a backstory. A friend, Greg 28, in my circle of friends met, Shannon 28, about 5 years ago, and they immediately hit it off. Everybody instantly fell in love with Shannon because she's friendly and really fun to hang out with. They were everybody's favorite couple and really made our hangouts much more fun. We all knew they were perfect for each other. They both made our crew that much better. The engagement was expected, but much welcome news. Our friend's circle was buzzing about the inevitable wedding. Then the invitations went out. You know those save-the-date magnets that people send out? Well, it really sucked seeing them on everybody else's fridge when I visited friends knowing I didn't get one and wasn't invited. Feeling left out really sucks. But it gets worse. I completely understand how stressful wedding planning is, and I believe nobody should feel that they have to invite people they don't want to their wedding. It's their day and their ceremony, and they shouldn't have to have people there who they don't want there. I didn't cause a fuss or express to anyone that I was hurt that I felt excluded from the wedding and, by extension, excluded from the group. I didn't want to be looked on in an even worse way that I feel I was apparently being looked at, but one friend actually stood up for me. When their wedding came up in conversation and people talked about booking flights and rooms, destination wedding in New York City, eventually I was asked if I booked yet. I said me and my girlfriend, weren't invited. Nobody could believe it, but I insisted that I wasn't upset because I know how situations like this can go. I didn't want to cause trouble because then the happy couple might resent me. Then I'd be the bad guy. I heard through other friends that my friend Tracy thought it was really messed up that I wasn't invited. She and I never spoke of how I wasn't invited to the wedding, but she really felt a certain way about it. So, a month before the destination wedding, I got a text from Greg basically saying sorry for forgetting to send an invite, but that they would love to have us come to the wedding. It was way too late at that point for me. I couldn't get away from my job, and I didn't have a chance to put money aside for a year for an expensive NYC destination wedding like everyone else did. I didn't even get a save the date. Every flight and hotel, no rooms where everyone else was staying obviously, too late for that, was unaffordable for me. I texted him back that I couldn't make it. The wedding came and went, and I felt bad about everything. I saw the Facebook pictures of my friends all having the time of their lives. It looked like a great wedding. There's even a picture of just the group of friends labeled the crew. I don't think I've ever felt so left out, honestly. It really made me feel worthless and unwanted. So naturally, the typical thoughts surfaced. They don't like you. They think you're annoying. They think you're an asshole. If you can't identify the schmuck in a group of friends, that means you're it. They think you try way too hard to be nice and think you're a phony. Then, as if it couldn't get any worse, Shannon messaged me on Facebook asking why I didn't RSVP and said they missed me at the wedding. RSVP. Doesn't one have to be invited in order to RSVP? Everybody got a year to prepare between getting save the dates and actual wedding invitations. I got a text message a month before the wedding. Just as I feared, I'm being made out to be the bad guy, and I even made a point to keep my feelings to myself and play it cool. But as usual, I didn't say this to her because I know how I would end up looking. I actually apologized for... I don't even know. But I made a point to mention how I spoke with Greg about it. I also made sure to compliment the wedding pictures and say it looked like fun. I did everything I could in that conversation to make it easier on her, and of course now I feel like a total schmuck. That was this past summer, and I haven't seen them since. I feel like that's it for me in the group now. I see some of the friends in our group every now and then, but everything feels different now. None of them even responded to my birthday party Facebook invite this month. I feel like things are being said behind the scenes, and I feel completely out of the loop. It felt like a passive-aggressive message that maybe Greg and Shannon never actually liked me. My fiancé gets along great with Shannon, and she's just confused. Seeing her confusion just makes my heart break even more because she's a sweetheart who's never offended anybody in her life. I wish I could break it to her that I'm just the guy in the group that Greg and Shannon think sucks, but I don't know how, and I feel like a complete loser who deserves this. I'll always appreciate Tracy for sticking up for me. She may never know how awesome it feels hearing about how she told everybody it was messed up that I was left out. I haven't even spoken to her about how the whole thing made me feel. Or anybody, for that matter. Reddit, you are the first to hear about it, because I didn't want it to appear like I'm making a stink and become even more disliked. This whole thing just fucking sucks. I feel like I don't have friends anymore. And to make it worse, soon I'll have a wedding of my own, and I'm afraid I won't have any friends there. Except for Tracy, of course. How am I supposed to handle who I invite so it doesn't seem like I'm leaving people out for petty revenge? How the hell do I navigate a toxic situation that I had no hand in creating? I still feel like I'm in the dark or could be overreacting. What the hell? R. Friends forgot or chose not to invite me to their wedding. After a friend stuck up for me, I was invited via text message with little notice, had to decline, then asked why I didn't RSVP and that I was missed. Soon I'll have my own wedding to plan and don't feel like I have any friends to invite. Don't know if I should invite certain people, don't know how to even approach the situation I didn't create. Relevant comment. Deleted. Dude, you clearly tell them you were not respected like the others. Cut them out. This is about self-respect. Find new friends. Don't turn back. Up. Thanks for reading and responding. Yeah, I've been thinking, I guess I can have my younger brother be the best man and just not have groomsmen considering the circumstances. It's just fucked how I did everything I could to avoid looking like the bad guy. Yet here we are. I'm the bad guy regardless of anything I did. Doc, that totally sucks. I would be hurt too. Do you think maybe Greg was in charge of sending invites to his friends and forgot? Or it got lost in the mail? I had an invite get returned to me 1 month after I sent it, but thankfully I'd sent a save the date and sent my invite super early, so it ended up being fine. But if I hadn't, one of my cousins might have incorrectly thought she was excluded. It sounds like Shannon, at least, thought you were sent an invite if she was upset you didn't RSVP. You actually did RSVP by texting Greg back, but it sounds like she thought you'd been sent an RSVP response card. OP. Yeah, it could just be a simple misunderstanding, but word seemed to get around early that I didn't get a save the date and even later didn't get an invite either. Tracy especially seemed to make sure everybody was aware that she wasn't happy about my exclusion. The other friends I spoke to didn't even suggest that it could have been a mistake, almost like they knew something I didn't but didn't feel comfortable saying it. Only one person even spoke up on my behalf. Update posted April 2nd, 2018. 3 days later. Same post. Update. I half took everyone's advice and brought it up with Tracy. She just confirmed that Shannon was full of shit when she asked me why she didn't get my RSVP and wanted to absolve herself of guilt. I'm not sure if they forgot or if I just wasn't invited yet, but Tracy said we'd talk about it more tonight when she gets out of work. Final update posted April 2nd, 2018. Later that night, same post. Final update. I spoke about it in depth with Tracy. It turns out Greg's best man, someone who was never in the gang but grew up with Greg, always hated me, and Greg thinks I'm annoying. Shannon later felt bad they chose not to invite me and pressured him to invite me over text, knowing I wouldn't be able to make it. Also, it wasn't only Tracy who thought it was wrong that I didn't get an invite, and the chatter is what made Shannon ask me why I didn't RSVP, to make it seem like my invite was lost in the mail. It feels better knowing this because, like I said, they don't have to have people they don't want at their wedding. But knowing Greg doesn't like me fucking hurts because I always thought we were friends. Turns out he's the phony. Unfortunately, everybody else, except for Tracy and a few others, like Greg more than me, so they kind of felt like they had to choose a side after Tracy, and a few at hers, it turns out, brought up why I didn't get invited. Lots of people feeling guilty about this, apparently. They still felt like they had to choose a side for whatever reason. Probably because most of them went to high school with Greg. Oh well, that's life. Thanks for the advice about being more assertive. Those of you polite about it were very helpful. Thanks. Relevant comment. Deleted. Yeah, you don't need those two-faced assholes in your life. Congratulations on finding out before they borrowed money from you. When they get divorced, you can reach out to Greg and tell him that he deserves it. OOP. It's funny you bring up borrowing money because they're the type who always want to split the check when they order the most expensive shit and always say, "I'll get you back." And, "I don't trust Venmo. I'll just give you cash when I go to the ATM." And don't. On the plus side, I don't have to pay for part of their steak and lobster dinners anymore. Will OOP invite Greg, Shannon, and the best man to his wedding? Now, I don't think it would be right to force anybody to choose sides because that feels inappropriate to do to friends. I think everybody who stood up for me gets an invite. Greg can have his best man and be the cynical bastards they are together. Honestly, nobody really likes the best man all that much because he's always acted like an obnoxious asshole when he's been around us. They can have each other. When told to talk to Greg directly and get it from the source, actually got confirmation and an apology from someone else. Not everybody was cool with it, but she's the only one who really has a spine and spoke up for me. Turns out they fucked up and caused all kinds of drama between people in the group. Some people wanted to keep me out of the loop so I wouldn't feel insulted. I kinda get it, but it just makes me appreciate Tracy more. Final comments from OOP. Rai Jin. In this situation, you aren't the bad guy from my perspective, and to be honest, a destination wedding is a dick move on your friend's part. The sheer inconvenience of one is like dick move supreme, especially the fact they chose NYC WTF. Plus, some people turn into assholes after marriage, and statistically speaking, your married male friend is going to be spending much time with his wife now than his friends. In some ways, marriage is like high school. You go to it with your friends for a little while, then you start to drift away from another by barely communicating. OP. Shannon is from up there and she wanted to be closer to her family. Yeah, it turns out they didn't want me there and felt pressured once some of my friends realized. I guess it was easier to make the decision when it was just the two of them, and they lost confidence in the choice when people found out. Rai Jin. I feel it's best to let the consequences of this affect them, and just move on. OP. Yeah, hopefully they learn from this and aren't such assholes in the future. I don't see Greg ever changing from the cynical and negative guy he is, but you never know. Story 10. He, 42M, is so jealous of our kids and it's starting to scare me. 35F. Is this family and marriage even savable? Original post. March 16, 2024. My husband, 42M, and I, 35F, tried for so long to have our boys and girl. Due to a health issue my husband suffered, he developed fertility issues, and we had to get medical assistance to be able to have our children, because if we didn't, he'd probably never have kids. So we went through fertility treatment. He desperately wanted his own biological children, and we spent a fortune just to bring them into the world, and now he's jealous and distant with them. He's constantly in competition with his own infant children. If I hold the children, he gets frustrated. Anytime they take my attention away, he gets completely pissy. He's always in a foul mood, irritable, and just downright nasty. I don't understand it. Why is he like this? Our children are barely 6 months, and they won't stop crying every time he's near. I feel like they can sense his negativity. I tried talking to him. I've suggested he take interest in the kids and spend more time with us as a family. I know it can sometimes take a little longer for parents to bond with their children, but this is downright scary to experience. He's full of jealousy and envy. He sees our children as competition to my time and affections. A few times now he has made comments about feeling frustrated that I still breastfeed our children. The thing is, we mix feed, so he has had ample opportunity to feed them, and he just doesn't. He also said that this, meaning our life and our marriage after children, wasn't what he thought it would be like. I mean, what did he expect? A singular baby cries, and 3 of them cry a lot. We've been together for 8 years and married for 7 years. He wanted these children. He pushed for them, and now this. I never thought this would ever be me. I am scared. I am scared for my children. I have tried talking to him, but he just brushes me off. I've suggested counseling. He refuses. He tells me it's all in my head. I want to save this marriage, but I'm scared I won't be able to, and maybe it's not worth saving. He comes home later every day. He avoids us on the weekends and any time he has off. I'm not ashamed to say that I went through his phone and there are a lot flirtatious text between him and a Jessica. I don't think anything has happened between them, but it sure looks like they are building up to it. I haven't said anything because I'm afraid. Where do I go with 3 children, with no money and no family that can help me? I haven't worked in 2 years and I've spent all my savings on having these children. My mind is in a complete meltdown. I can't sleep, I can't think, and I'm always exhausted. What the hell happened? Is this him now forever? Edit. Some of you are some real evil bastards. Stop blaming me for him mistreating me. I do not deserve to be treated this way, and neither do my kids. Stop messaging me evil things. Relevant comment. Examples of competition. If I'm with the kids and say I'm feeding them, he gets upset I'm focusing on them and not him, or as he likes to say, I'm fussing over them. He expects they sleep through the night and gets upset when I'm with them instead of in bed with him. He has even made weird comments about me loving them more than him. Did he really want kids, or did you want kids? Due to my husband's fertility issues, he was the one pushing for us to have kids. He knew early on that he had a health condition and wanted us to have children way earlier, but I asked if we could wait. But then his condition worsened, so we agreed to get treatment before he couldn't have any kids. He desperately wanted to be a father, and they are biologically ours. His desire to be a father was one of the qualities I liked about him when we started dating. I've always worked, and the plan was for me to stay home for the first 2/3 years, and perhaps work part-time until the kids were school-aged. But that's out the window now because I don't want to ever be this vulnerable. I've been brushing off my CV and scouring the internet for a job. I will never allow myself to be this vulnerable again. Does he help at all? Do you have a support system you could go to? He doesn't help me at all. I take care of our kids on my own. My parents are long gone and my sister is abroad. She stayed with us for the birth and a month after the children were born. She lives in France, but she's due to return home this summer, so I know I'll have her help when she's back. But I'm trying not to bother her as she's going through a divorce. I've suggested couples counseling and he refuses. He says everything is in my head. I'm actually even crying writing this, but I do have a small-to-go bag in the trunk of my car. Just in case. I feel like I'm not being rational because he doesn't hurt me or the kids, but I feel like I'm constantly walking on eggshells. Like what happened to my happy-go-lucky husband? Who's this person I'm afraid of? Are they his biologically? Did you guys go to a support group for infertility treatment? We didn't use any sperm or egg donations. The kids are his and mine biologically. We also went to a support group, 2 support groups actually. One of them was for couples and the other for men experiencing infertility. He also went to individual therapy to deal with his emotional issues around infertility. Update post, March 19th, 2024, 3 days later. Title, He's 42M been pinching my 35F babies? Thank you to the person who said I should watch his interactions with my babies more closely and frequently. Not even hours after I posted here asking for advice, I caught him pinching my son. While I was scrolling on here and replying to people, I decided to check my baby monitor, and I watched my husband enter our children's room and insult them in a hushed and whispery tone. I couldn't make out much of what he was saying, but he was without a doubt telling them that he hated them and wished them dead. Then he pinched my son, and my baby boy didn't even cry, which made me think he's done this many times before. It all happened so fast, and by the time I could make sense of what was happening on the monitor, he was already walking down the hallway and down the stairs. At the same time, I had leapt off the sofa and pretty much tackled him as he came off the stairs. We got into a physical and verbal altercation. We fought, argued, and shouted for hours. I guess the police were called by the neighbors because the next thing I know, the police are banging on my door. I explained the situation to the police, and the officers said that they could not prove that my baby was harmed since he didn't have a bruise, and my baby monitor was only on live feed and not simultaneously recording. Eventually, they got my husband to agree to pack a bag and leave. He left reluctantly. He has since been blowing up my phone begging for forgiveness, talking about how he's been depressed and stressed by the babies, and that his anxiety and jealousy got the best of him. I just responded once telling him to go fuck himself. I've also been in contact with a lawyer and she's advised me to leave him unblocked in case he further incriminates himself. I don't even recognize who this man is. Where did this all come from? How did this happen? Has any other parent experienced this? How did you handle this? Before you all start jumping down my throat, I am absolutely getting a divorce and I will do everything in my power to get full custody. I did take my children to our family doctor and they are in good health and there are no other signs of abuse. I've filled a report with the police and my lawyer is dealing with it. I'm also about to start the process of divorce. Relevant comment. Commenter. He just wants more and better access to his victims. This is someone who gets off on hurting children. Actual human beings who are stressed and depressed do not sneak around abusing children for their dopamine hits. OP. Exactly. I'm tired, stressed, depressed, and I'm physically still not fully healed from the pregnancy and the cesarean birth, but not once have I thought of hurting anyone, let alone a baby. I don't buy his bullshit excuses. He clearly knew what he was doing was wrong. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been sneaking around and being all hush-hush. I do not believe him for 1 second. He's a goddamn beastly man. Update the monitor to one that records. I've set the monitor up to record now. I've also ordered a home security system and will be installing it real soon. On what OOP is doing to protect them. I'm doing everything I can to protect them. This all happened a few days ago, but I am in the process of getting a temporary restraining order. My lawyer is handling it, and I understand it takes some time to actually get one, and in the meantime I've been advised that I can just deny him visitation until he gets a judgment from the courts that forces me to grant him access to my babies, but that takes time. So in the meantime, he can't force me or my babies to see him. I've recorded every call and saved every text, literally documenting everything. Thankfully, he's saying and texting a goldmine of incriminating things that I hope would be sufficient information for a judge to give me and my babies a restraining protective order and for family court to grant me primary and sole custody. Did you tell him you saw the pinch? Yes. He at first told me I was imagining things, then switched to saying he was just frustrated our son wouldn't go to sleep. Then he started saying that he was angry that our son was interrupting our personal time and that he was doing it on purpose because the other babies were asleep, so why wasn't he? Honestly, nothing he says makes sense to me. Like my baby boy was just laying there sleepy, and he would have fallen back to sleep by himself. That bastard actually woke him up with his pinching and insults. He says he went in their room to check up on them, and I call bullshit on that he went in there to torment my children. Who in their right mind whispers death to 2 sleeping babies and another half-asleep baby? Did he tell you that over phone or text? This was on a call which I've recorded. Asterisk, 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 update post 2, April 10th, 2024, 3 weeks after OG post. Title, How Did It Go So Wrong? For my 36F birthday, he, 42M, broke into the house. Every conversation with him, 42M, feels like I'm, 36F, losing my mind. The only thing that has kept me semi-sane and able to track what he has been doing is my audio journal and my posts on here. Last week it was my 36th birthday. Actually, I had forgotten it was my birthday and was reminded by my sister that it was in fact my birthday. I decided I couldn't mope around the house, and I got my kids dressed to go shopping and get groceries. We got back and I put away half of the groceries, but my babies were fussy, and so to tire them out and ready them for bed, we went for a walk. When I got back home, he was in the kitchen cooking and putting away some of the groceries I had left out. He greeted me and acted normal. I didn't react because his entire demeanor was freaking me out, so I played along. I went upstairs and got the kids down. I did think of walking out the front door, but he was kind of anticipating it. And so he was following me around, and I thought in the moment that the best thing I could do was to get my kids upstairs and away from him. He said he wanted to talk and clear the air because this has gone on too long. We had a long conversation, and it started out reasonable but eventually spiraled out of control. We got into physical confrontation because I refused to let him stay. He tried to physically intimidate me, and he, hurt me. While he was hurting me, I was still able to contact the police. It took them excruciatingly long 25 minutes to get there. So here I am sitting with 2 completely black and blue eyes, a busted lip, swollen face, massive knots on my head and bruises all over. I don't know what happened to my life or how I got here, but here I am. I can't even look my neighbors in the eyes. I can't go outside without seeing the shocked faces of people. I have never felt so ashamed, so humiliated, so hurt, and so utterly stupid. I thought I made all the right choices in life. What did I do wrong? When did it all get so fucked? I mean, I think I did everything right. Like I created a stable life for myself, then picked a man that at time was a very loving partner. I married that man and waited 5 years before even going through the process of having children with him. And now once I've had his children, he's just beating on me and our babies? Edit. My sister is now aware of what's been happening, and she is supporting me as best as she can. I have plans to move out, but since I'm not working right now, I need some time to save up. His family is also aware. His family refused to believe that I saw him hurt our child, but they can't deny this attack now that they've seen my bruises. Also, yes, he was arrested, and he was bailed out by his brother. He's currently staying with his brother. Relevant comment. I'm in contact with a DV organization that my lawyer has put me in contact with. I did have a locksmith come out, and I have new locks. I also have a couple of safety locks for my windows, and security cameras around the house, and I changed our security code, but honestly, he doesn't give a shit. He, despite it all, broke in and beat the living shit out of me. Making the audio journal? I really didn't make my audio journal to use as evidence. I literally made it because he makes me feel like I'm insane. I never know which version of him I'll get at any given time. I also keep my journal to keep track of what he says. Every conversation with him makes me lose grip of my fleeting sanity. Leaving the house. The biggest reason I haven't left my home is because he would without a doubt say I abducted the children. I'm already withholding my children from him since I caught him hurting my 6-month-old son. On advice of my lawyer, I have stayed put. It's my best option for now, and it shows that I've been reasonably measured in my actions. Restraining order? I am in the process of getting one. Update Post 3, April 25, 2024, 15 days later, almost 6 weeks from OG Post. Title: It was all for the love of another woman who barely knew of his existence. He, 42M, hurt my 36F children to further his own selfish desires. I say all of this without exaggeration. I am certain he was getting ready to kill us. After nearly 8 months of turmoil, I'm finally close to understanding. My soon-to-be ex-husband is in love with a woman he came across on social media, and he has been obsessing over her for at least a year. She also happens to be a sex worker, and he was paying her for her time and attention. In his mind, he believed they could have a future together if only he could get rid of my children and me. Even though this woman gave him no inkling that she even wanted to be with him, he has spent so much of our money on this woman. I am at a loss for words that could accurately describe the situation. I can barely believe half of the things he's been up to. I've spent the past few weeks playing detective, and I finally decided to contact Jessica. This is obviously not her name, but I need to call her something. I contacted Jessica, and at first she was very reluctant to speak to me, but I literally begged her to, and she was kind enough to get on the phone with me. She told me that she had been seeing him for a while, but she stopped seeing him because he started to scare her. He was sending her unhinged messages and voicemails. He had been stalking her and trying to convince her to be with him. Jessica eventually stopped seeing him and had him blocked, and I guess this is when he started to escalate from emotional abuse to physically abusing my children and myself. He was looking for a way out, and in his crazy mind, killing us would free him because the only reason Jessica wouldn't be with him was because me and my children were in the way. During our long call, I also explained to Jessica what had been happening to me, and she was genuinely kind and helpful. She also agreed to speak to my lawyer and to send them the thousands of unhinged texts, voicemails, and voice notes he sent her. For a little while after our conversation, a part of me genuinely hated Jessica and wanted to blame her for everything, but the rational part of me pushed out those unreasonable and dangerous thoughts, especially after I read his disturbing texts and heard his voicemail notes to Jessica. She has also been victimized by him. Honestly, there is nothing like listening to your husband and father of your children talk about how you and your children mean nothing to him and how he wishes you were dead. He could have just asked for a divorce or just got up and left. I sent him a few texts asking him why. This was a one-time thing, and since then I've stopped all contact. Why do all of this? Why torment my babies? Why not just walk away? He responded with a message saying any conversation between us should be through our lawyers. His parents have him lawyered up. They know what he's been up to, and they've chosen to protect him. His father came to see me and in a not-so-direct way suggested he could pay me if I stopped talking about what his son has done and was planning on doing. Ever since he broke into the house and pretty much tried to kill me, I've told anyone who'd listen what he has done. At this point, even his colleagues know. Relevant comments. I have emergency custody of my kids and a protective order. I'm in the process of getting 2 trained guard dogs, haven't gotten very far though, and I have a security system. I'm also seriously considering a gun. More than seriously, actually, I've applied for a permit. Of course, I do plan on taking lessons in gun safety and training. Be careful with the dogs, he may just kill them. He probably would, but the few seconds to minutes he needs in order to do that is perhaps the chance I need to save my children and myself. This may seem horrible to you, but I rather have them as a buffer than my children getting harmed. I of course don't want this to happen, but I'm in a situation now where I need to do everything I can to protect my children. His parents. Oh, they really are bastards and refuse to believe their precious son could ever do the things he's done, despite the fact that I installed security cameras after I caught him abusing my babies, and despite the fact that my neighbors have signed witness statements attesting to the fact that they saw him break into my house and attack me. They've seen the police report. They've seen the pictures of my battered face and bruised body. They are feigning ignorance, but they know, and I know they know. You don't want to give him ammunition in the divorce? Maybe stop telling people? Actually, me telling people has been the best thing I've done so far. It's what has kept me safe. My neighbors now look out for his car and call the police if they see he's anywhere near the house. What was he like before all of this? Were there any signs? We've been married for nearly 8 years. We'll actually be 8 years in 2 months. We never had any issues. Sure, we had minor squabbles, but that was few and far in between. Never did I have any issues that would lead me to think that he'd try to hurt us, let alone kill us. It was during my pregnancy and birth that he became verbally and emotionally abusive. This is also the time period he met Jessica and started fantasizing about running away with her. He was angry and jealous that my attention was more on the pregnancy and the babies, and this built resentment towards me and my children. It also pushed him more into his obsession with Jessica, and when he was also rejected by her, he spiraled into this insane mindset. At the same time, he escalated into verbally and physically abusing our infant children, and when I found out he hurt my children, I attacked him. I caught him hurting my son, and we physically fought, and my neighbors called the police, and he was escorted out of the house. Then he came back and broke into the house. He attacked me and beat me into a bloody mess. He was arrested for this. I've since attained a lawyer, and I've been granted emergency custody and a protective order. Again, why isn't he in jail? He's out on bail. Update Post 3, May 11th, 2024, 2+ weeks later. Editor's note, this post was deleted by Reddit. I have transcribed it from this YouTube video and this TikTok video. Title, My 36F husband, 42M, has been arrested for stalking and attempting to abduct his former mistress. Last week Thursday at approximately 2 a.m. in the morning, my 36F husband, 42M, of nearly 8 years, was arrested outside of Jessica's house. The sex worker he met online and used to pay to spend time with him until he started to creep her out by his stalking and obsession. When he was arrested, they found in his truck small baggies with drug residue, and they also found tools of abduction. I honestly do not know what these are exactly. My soon-to-be ex-affair called me at around 4:45 a.m. to tell me that his son was arrested. My affair was the one who used the term tools of abduction. When I asked him what the hell that means, he said he didn't have time for my interrogation tactics. He then asked if I could help them find a lawyer for him and to stand by his son throughout all of this. When I said to him, "How the hell am I supposed to find a lawyer this early in the morning?" he lost his shit and then was just screaming. My soon-to-be ex-male took over the phone, telling me that I'm a goddamn B********, and that all this is my fault. I hung up before she could say any more. I never knew this man to take drugs. Sure, he drank occasionally, but hard drugs? I honestly don't know what's happening anymore or how I got here. I mean, it does make sense he was on cocaine the past 7-8 months, now that I look back at things. I mean, I don't even know anything about drugs to be able to recognize the behavior pattern, but once I researched it, it seemed clear. The moodiness, the disappearances, the lies, the anger, the sudden outburst, and the violence, it all points to drug usage, as well as him being an abusive piece of shit. His parents and the rest of his family had called and texted me so much abusive shit, and they occasionally switched to begging me to go see him or pick up his calls, but I've mainly ignored them. I don't have the time, the energy or the love that is needed to be there for this man and his parents. I've given him 8 years of my love and affection, and he spat it back into my face during the hardest and most vulnerable time of my life. Also, why would they think I'd help him after everything he's done? Especially since I think he deserves to be in jail for not only hurting my children, but also for hurting myself and Jessica. I hope and pray he's jailed for the rest of his natural life. I mean, I've tried being a good wife, but he has attacked my children. He has attacked me. He has lied and tormented us, and I'm supposed to help him? I don't even know how I got here. How did we get here? I've packed everything up and I'm leaving. I'm disappearing with my kids, and anything else between me and these people can be handled through my lawyer. The only person who knows where I'm moving to is my lawyer and my sister. I mean, what else can I do to protect my children? His entire family blames me. And how do I keep my head high when I'm now being treated like I'm an evil and disgusting person by pretty much everyone I once called a family? These people are trying to destroy me inside and out, and I don't know how to survive them. How am I supposed to rebuild my life when they won't stop tormenting me? In less than a year of their birth, I've managed to fail my children. TLDR. My soon-to-be ex-husband was arrested while stalking his former mistress, sex worker, and during his arrest they found drug residue and tools for abduction. Relevant comments? Change your surname, the kids' surnames. My kids and I have double-barreled surnames, my surname and their dad's, but when I can, we will drop his and we'll all go by just mine. People blaming OOP. The sad fucking thing, it's not only his parents. It seems like everyone is blaming me. OP's response to a crappy, now deleted comment: you need to discover the reasons why you failed to notice or do anything about everything that was going on with him. You have to build skills so you can take full ownership over your own life. This genuinely has me fucking raging right now. I feel like everyone keeps blaming me. And I don't know why everyone keeps blaming me for his shit. We didn't have any problems in the previous 7 years of our marriage. He started doing drugs during my pregnancy, and this is when he started to behave abnormally. I tried to get him help because I thought it was depression or the stress of being a new parent. When I noticed his irritability, combativeness, and generally shitty behavior was more than just depression or jealousy of me spending more time with my newborn children, I kicked him out. I got a lawyer and involved the police because there's no way in hell I'd stay with someone who hurt my children or let him get away with it, and I also made sure to get emergency custody of my children. This is also around the same time when he spiraled into using more drugs. I don't know what else I could have done, but I know I took all the right steps when I noticed his escalation. I'm so sick of everyone acting like I was making him do drugs and like I'm supposed to know that he'd ruin my life after having had a good marriage before he started taking drugs and going out of his mind. What has your lawyer said about disappearing? I currently have emergency custody. My lawyer is the one who suggested to disappear, meaning moving to new house and not letting anyone know, because she says this is a time of great danger, and I heartily agree. Since my ex-husband first went to look for me at the house, but me and my children went to stay somewhere else for a few days because I was scared he'd come back after he broke into the house previously and attacked me. Story 11. WIBDA for reporting a coworker to HR for trying to feed me? Original post, January 6, 2021. I, 24M, am a small man, 5'4" and 103 pounds as of my last physical. I'm well aware I'm at an unhealthy weight. My entire life I've been small, mostly due to illnesses and myriad allergies, and it's admittedly a sore spot. I am working with my doctor to gain weight while still fitting in with my dietary restrictions: no meat, dairy, gluten, or nuts, and honestly, I'm so much better than I was several months ago and proud of myself for the progress I've made. A coworker, Peg, 30F, got pregnant and recently returned to work late Nov. She's been increasingly overt and uncomfortable in her concern for me. Peg made and brought in cupcakes for her return, and when I thanked her for thinking of us but refused, citing my gluten allergy, she was visibly upset. She didn't shout or complain much, just sighed heavily and said that she would put this one in the break room with the rest. I felt awful. Then she brought me a steak sandwich the next day on gluten-free bread. Again I thanked her, but I had brought in my own lunch and needed to focus on that. Peg told me it was in the fridge for when I finished, ended up bringing it home so she wouldn't feel bad and gave it to my BF. Next day she approached again. I refused again. She insisted. By now we weren't alone in the break room. She joked that it was rude to refuse a home-cooked meal in favor of that, my lunch. At that point, I just took it and thanked her. BF ended up eating it. Then she just started leaving bagged snacks on my desk. She would approach with a snack or a portion of whatever she made for dinner the night before and not leave me be until I had taken it. I went to our boss and explained that I felt uncomfortable and was told that she was probably feeling maternal and it would negatively impact morale to discourage her. So, been taking notes since then, what days Peg has given what, when, who witnessed it, etc. From 12/8 to now, she's done it 23 times. Yesterday, I took Peg aside and explained that while I was touched, I would appreciate if she wouldn't bring in anything else. She said that I should have said something sooner. She was only trying to help. Have I seen myself in a mirror? Does your boyfriend like you, starving yourself, among other phrases? Livid. I told her that maybe I didn't feel like sharing my personal medical history with her just so that my wishes were respected. For God's sake, we work with a hospital. Don't you know anything about HIPAA? We parted from there, me childishly storming off and her in tears. Have I already been a huge ass and would a report to HR just be the icing on the ass cake? Eat it. To address a few commonly raised points. I said no thank you repeatedly to her face when she gave the food. She in turn would refuse to leave my desk or to stop talking to me in the break room or halls until I took it. She returned to work late November before Thanksgiving and started this behavior almost immediately. I waited until 12/8 to speak with our boss, who is a woman if that matters, and only then started counting the incidents. She is also no longer pregnant, rather I should have said that she returned from maternity leave. Edit 2, 1/8. I'm aware I misused HIPAA but was referencing it in the context that she should know better than to pry into medical history to satisfy her curiosity. Also, I wasn't thinking clearly when I said that to her. OP has voted NTA. Update post 1 January 8, 2021, 2 days later. Honestly, I've never more immediately regretted something. This exploded, spectacularly. I went to HR saying that the matter was settled, but I wanted it documented. Subsequently was told that there would be an investigation and the incidents would be corroborated with witnesses, because, as is the full record I claim is severe enough to warrant potential action for Pei and several other co-workers who also engaged in her behavior. HR started the process apparently immediately, because I walked in yesterday to a shitstorm. This plunged the department into civil war. Many agree Peg was out of line. Some told me I should have kept the status quo. Some said I was ungrateful and entitled. One said I should have handled this maturely, and who could blame her when I look like that? And I should be ashamed of myself. Another co-worker suggested I work from home. Another told me he was sorry for not stepping in. I went to go get my lunch out of the fridge only to find someone had disposed of it and left behind the empty Tupperware. Nearly everyone has an opinion. The people in my corner have advised me to keep my head down and to take care. My boss held a meeting, first with Peg and me, then a second with just me. During the one with Peg, I was told to apologize for my part and Peg likewise. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable by caring about your health. My boss asked if I was satisfied now. I brought up Peg's comments, and my boss said I invited them. No one would call that harassment, and I need to work on myself. Together we went through each of the 23 events. She excused each of them until I was left to feel like I'd been harassing Peg. The next meeting was even worse. Effectively, boss said, I told you not to retaliate, and instead you searched Peg out to harass her, and your actions have expressed a worrying lack of cooperation with me and your team. She was also disappointed that instead of explaining that I needed her to resolve things, I escalated the situation well beyond the point of reason and cruel to someone who only wanted to help. She said I won't get far in life, and I'm not likely to get anywhere vocationally if I can't be a team player and actively sabotage a happy workplace. She hoped I will learn from this teachable moment how to behave in a collaborative environment, as it's inappropriate to involve HR for small misunderstandings. BF is spitting mad. I'm just tired, confused, and hurt. HR seemed sympathetic. Boss is very clearly on Peg's side. The office is split and tense. Currently updating my resume and job searching. It really does feel like a nightmare. Haven't felt good going into work for a while, and this just made it times worse. Relevant comment. Yes, see another post on my profile for further details as well. Also might be worth adding that we have worked together for 2 years prior to this. The entire department is aware of the fact I have numerous allergies that severely restrict my diet. My boss and everyone above her is aware of my other medical conditions additionally. TLDR. She knew I had allergies. She constantly brought me food I would have a reaction to if I ingested or came into contact with. One last thought. Commenter. Isn't it weird that your colleagues that already know about your food allergies, a good number of them, not reacting when you are offered allergy-laden food? It doesn't make sense that they already know but are not even moderately reacting to it. Food allergies can kill, and them not doing anything is ridiculous, especially when this involves a good number of people. OOP. Incredibly. As you can see, the office is terribly concerned for my health. Clarifying post. January 8, 2021, same day. Editor's note. This is a long post and mostly clarifies and expands upon interactions with Peg. The next post has the final update. OOP clarified that all of the initials are initials for his co-worker's boss. Peg's name changed. 12/8. Peg approached with a pack of almonds. CN was nearby but did not get involved. I told her, I can't have those and don't want them, but thank you for thinking of me. Approached EP straight after. Her response was that Peg was probably feeling maternal, and it would negatively impact morale to discourage her. Peg approached after lunch, 2:00 p.m. tilde, asking if I wanted a coffee. No one around. I said refused. She said she had gotten a free coffee and asked me to take it off her hands. I said I didn't want the coffee. She left it on my desk, threw it out in the break room. 12/9. Peg and CC ordered takeout from diner. She offered an order of fries and a chicken salad, saying she knew I need the protein and fries brighten anyone's day. I refused, and she said, "But I bought this for you." I apologized and said I already had my lunch and didn't ask her to. She said that I need to eat more than rabbit food. CC added that it would warm me up. I refused again and said I was more than happy with my lunch and didn't intend on changing my meal. CC told me to back off no P, it's just a salad. I apologized for being short, but I really was happy with my lunch. Peg and CC left and took the food with them. 12/10, 7:50 a.m., coffee. Refused. Peg insisted. Refused again. She insisted again. Refused again. She insisted again. Just took the coffee to get her to leave me alone. Thrown out in the break room. 12/11, a handful of Hershey Kisses on my desk after 9:30 a.m. meeting. 2 packages of almonds on my desk after going to the bathroom at approximately 1 p.m. 12/14. At 11 a.m., Peg placed a Tupperware of rice on the table in front of me in the break room. CN, CC, DP, and KG were all there. She told me rice would add substance to my lunch. I said, "Thank you, but this is enough." People were staring, and she wouldn't back down, standing directly in front of the table. I told her to take it back. She sighed and did. The break room was silent. I left to return to my desk. 12/15. Peg approached with salt and vinegar chips and a coffee with soy milk as soon as she walked in, 8 a.m. DP was there, but didn't get involved, as was KG and EK. I said, "No thank you, but I'll reimburse you the cost." She said the real repayment would be for me to take what she gives me without fussing. I said I don't want it and never asked her for this. She responded, "And that's why it's a gift. Bon appétit." KG suggested maybe waiting to be asked before buying someone a coffee, and Peg said that ruined the surprise. EK added that not everyone likes surprises. Peg rolled her eyes and stood waiting for me to take the drink. When I didn't, she put it on my desk. I gave the coffee and chips to EK after she left. 12/16. Came back from a meeting at 10. 30am to a donut and croissant and hash browns on my desk. I approached her with the bag and asked if she put this on my desk. DP was there. Peg said, "You're welcome," and I told her I won't eat this, so take it back. DP said I should eat it, stating I need to be fattened up and could use a couple dozen pounds. Mortified, I left to go back to my desk. 12/17. In the break room at 1 p.m., Peg tried to give me a ramen cup to supplement my snack in reference to my lunch. I said no. She asked if it would kill me to be nicer. I said no, but the ramen might, and left. 12/18. Peg tried to give me a coffee at 7:40 a.m. at my cubicle and stood there even after I said no. She proceeded to ask why I never ate. I said I eat. I just don't eat food given to me. I made a point to say it wasn't personal. I just only eat what I bring in for myself. She said, "That's sad and I needed to loosen up." EK walked by and greeted us both, and Peg left, leaving the coffee behind, thrown out in the break room. 12/21. Peg brought in a store-bought cake and put it in the break room. At 3 p.m. she said she noticed I nearly missed out, but luckily she saved some for me. I said I didn't want the cake, or else I would have gotten myself some. She told me to have a cheat day and left the cake on my desk. I returned the slice to the break room and tossed it out. 12:20. Peg placed a bag of chocolate coins on my desk after noon. I told her to take them back. She asked, "Who doesn't want chocolate?" I said me, and she said, "Maybe BF would like them." I followed her to her cubicle and gave them back. She rolled her eyes and scoffed, but didn't further push. 12/23. Peg approached me around 10:15 a.m. in the hallway with a package of homemade cookies. I said no thanks, but I appreciated her trying to be festive. I wished her a Merry Christmas and continued walking. Peg approached again in the break room at noon. CN and PP were also there. She asked if I wanted her to drop off the cookies at my desk. I said no. I already said I didn't want them. CN said that they were super delicious, and that Peg even bothered with the gluten thing. PP suggested I could bring them home to BF so it didn't go to waste. I said no thank you, and left to go back to my desk. After a meeting, 2:30 p.m., I came back to cookies on my desk and a note saying, "Merry Xmas," thrown away in the break room. 12/28. Peg approached me in the break room at noon and asked if I ever eat anything fun. I tried to ignore her, but she tapped on the table until I said I enjoy what I bring in. She gave me a chocolate orange and a Pediasure, saying, "You can't be dieting over the holidays," threw out both as soon as she left. 12/29. At 4:30 p.m., Peg approached me at the time clock with a pair of granola bars and tried to get me to take them. I said no and said I needed to punch out. She wouldn't move until I took the bars. 12/30, grab locks? Locks? I said I didn't want it, and Peg spoke over me, explaining it as fermented fish with dill. I told her that was very interesting, but I still didn't want her offering me food. CN was there, but did not get involved. CC said, "Wow," in an incredulous tone, but didn't further react. 3 p.m. Peg tried to give me a donut and a latte. When I refused, she just placed it on my desk. I gave both to EK. 12/31. Peg tried to give me a batch of fudge. She only offered the chocolate variety, but she also had made chocolate walnut and peanut butter variants, and not only did I not want them, I did not trust that she was careful enough with cross-contamination. I said as much to her. She was affronted that I would call her dirty, and I explained that it has nothing to do with cleanliness and everything to do with preparation, tools, and surfaces. She sarcastically wished me a Happy New Year and left. January 4th, 2021. A tin of assorted chocolates left on my desk, presumably after I left as they were there at 6 a.m. and I am the first person into the office. Left in the break room as they were sealed. January 5th, 2021. Peg approached with a Tupperware container at 8 o'clock when she walked in. I said no. She told me I needed to be less picky. I told her that I appreciated her caring, but I already had my own lunch, so please stop. She told me then I could have it for dinner and put it on my desk. When I tried to hand it back to her, she put her hands up and said, "No give-backs." Returned to communal fridge. 5. 30 p.m. Tilda spoke with Peg concerning the food. No one around. I said I have been patient and understanding that she cares, but I was not happy about my refusals being ignored, the comments about my food and body, and wished she would stop bringing me food. She said I should have said something sooner, and I pointed out that I had repeatedly. She said, "I'm only trying to help, and haven't you looked in a mirror recently?" I said that was horribly rude. She asked, "Does BF like you starving yourself? Even gay men prefer meat." I said that any diet I was on and what I ate wasn't any of her business. She said, "Clearly you can't feed yourself." I said she should focus on yourself and your kid and stop bothering me. I left the conversation then and drove home. Relevant comment. Save for the changed names, this is nearly what HR received on top of a verbal meeting. Lawyer up. Thank you. Will do so. Working with a family friend who is a lawyer. She works in family court but has so far been invaluable in finding resources. Allergies. For what it's worth, boss and upper management are aware of my allergies. Downvoted comment. What's the worst that happens if you take this stuff home? Itchy and raw hands, tear moons. Allergies are more than simply ingesting the substance. This is the last I will address to you on this matter. Final thoughts? I did not tell Reddit about the full scope of my conditions. As it is, Reddit and Peg both have a similar understanding of my health. I am underweight, have several allergies, and other health conditions I do not feel like elaborating on. Final update post, January 25, 2022, just over 1 year later. It's been a long time since I even thought about this account. The 1-year anniversary of its creation passed not too long ago. When Ben mentioned having gone to Reddit about Peg, I somewhat dismissed that as useful and kept on supporting him in the real world. Life goes on. I happened to check his email recently and saw the notification of the anniversary and a few folks looking for an update. He had given me the password a while back and open permission to check out what people were saying. I read up recently. Most of the comments and advice and well wishes were sweet. Others were harsher as they gave their take. Many people wanted an update. Over 30-plus people messaged him. My husband Ben passed on August 21, 2021 from complications of esophageal cancer. He was diagnosed in early May. We married a few weeks after, basically just the legal portion of it, and a romantic dinner to mark the occasion. He promised me a wedding with the whole kit and caboodle for after he beat cancer. I think we both knew better even then, but pretending and planning gave us something to look forward to and focus on instead of his sickness. It took him very quickly. Ben's boss was first suspended, then let go. So was Peg and a few others who collaborated with her. Ben received a settlement from the owner of the hospital and an admittedly generic apology for how everything was handled. I'd put money on the fact it just got too big to ignore, with too much being exposed and people speaking up. The boss's reaction. The meetings, removing Ben from group work emails and project updates, not responding to calls or emails and refusing meetings, all of which was documented by the automated message saying his emails were deleted without opening, even taking his work when he sent it to her for review and presenting it as someone else's. And Peg's behavior, sending out mass texts to others in the office about a hypothetical situation about an ungrateful friend forcing her to cook for him but then not eating it, or the group emails spanning months before things went down, discussing Ben's food and how he just has no taste because he wouldn't take what Peg offered. The exact phrasing was lewd, more than just food was implied. Ben's new boss was accommodating of his medical leave when the time came, promised that he'd have his job back when he returned. His medical bills were covered partially by the owner and a collection from some of his co-workers and our friends, but there was a huge chunk we still had to pay. I had to file a restraining order against Peg after her firing, as she continued to try to contact us and stalk Ben especially. Sorry this update isn't comprehensive. I just feel he would have wanted to put a bow on things and give an ending. Thanks to everyone who was kind to him, it meant a lot. Story 12. My husband almost killed our baby and my toddler saved him. New updates. Original post March 11th, 2024. Hey Reddit. I need to share this story because I'm still shaking from what happened. I'm 25F, been with my husband, 30M, since 2018. We have a 3-year-old girl and a newborn boy. But tonight, things almost took a turn for the worse. My husband has always had trouble paying attention, but I never thought it would come to this. Our neighborhood is weirdly laid out, with cars zooming by at crazy speeds at all hours off the day I was folding clothes when I heard our toddler screaming, "Dad, help!" That tone made me drop everything and sprint outside. What I saw made my blood run cold, our newborn in his stroller, careening towards the busy street. I screamed and ran to him, barely stopping the stroller in time. My baby girl's hands and knees were scratched up because she tripped trying to run after the stroller. I snatched up my baby, heart pounding, and scanned for my husband. He wasn't watching. He was chatting with neighbors, completely oblivious. The anger I felt was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I stormed up to him, shouting in disbelief. He looked shocked at first, then realized what almost happened. The apologies and tears came pouring out, but it was too late. I couldn't wrap my head around how he could be so careless, so blind to our toddler's screams and the stroller rolling away. I packed up the kids and left, staying with my parents. They're on my side, but my husband keeps texting, begging forgiveness, calling it an honest mistake. But I can't shake the terror of almost losing my baby because he couldn't focus for a single second. My baby girl got hurt in the process because he couldn't pay attention. I almost lost my son because he couldn't pay attention. I can't stop crying. I feel so guilty. I wish this all never happened. Sorry it's short. I just want to hold my babies, and I can't stop shaking every time I think about it. What if I was just 1 second late? Would I have been planning a funeral? And the reason I left the house instead of him was because I hate that house. I don't feel like it's safe for the kids with all the traffic, and I was right. It's my husband's workhouse. I can't be running either. I had a C-section less 6 weeks ago. A lot of people are saying, why wasn't I watching the kids? I was doing their laundry like a parent. Does he take them for walks to have bonding time with them? He literally created this by himself. This has never happened before. How was I supposed to know? And people saying, why didn't I get him checked out? I'm not his mother. He is 30 years old. I'm sick of people acting like I have to parent my own husband while I literally have a newborn, a toddler, and I'm still healing from a C-section that I teared my stitches from when I ran to get my baby. I don't care if it was his ADHD. The court wouldn't care either. If he killed my child, he would have went to prison either way. Relevant comments. Additional info from OP. Specific Yam 2166. Okay, he was 100% wrong and I'd be livid just like you. However, I'm a little confused of the situation. Like, why was your baby just in a stroller unattended? Why did the stroller randomly go into the road? Since it sounds like you were at home, is this maybe something y'all normally do just to have a place for baby to sit out front of your house when your toddler is playing outside? And maybe it was a freak accident. I'm going to be honest as a mom. Most of us have stories of near-death experiences with our kids. We can be naive and stupid and expect a little child to have more awareness, survival skills than they do. When my son was 2, we had a horrible experience with an escalator, and I still have times where I can't sleep because of it. We are all idiots when it comes to parenting, because how can you know until you live it? And seriously, like every parent has one of these moments, unless you're one of those insanely lucky ones. I still really don't understand the whole scenario of what happened, but to me, it seems he really has remorse and feels terrible. And once you go through something like that, you never forget it. So if he cares and loves your kids, he's devastated and has learned a hard lesson. I don't know that your response was the best, but get why you did it in the moment. But I think you guys have a serious talk and maybe look into moving if possible. I wouldn't go straight to divorce like Reddit loves to preach. I think there is a solution here. And so sorry you're dealing with this. It's literally the worst feeling in the world. Adishin. Up. Hi, love. Let me just clear it up for you. So I was sitting inside in the lounge room, and there's a huge window behind the TV that was a little open, so I could hear outside. That's when I heard my toddler scream for her dad to help when I was outside. He was standing on the neighbor's driveway. I assumed that he must have had left the baby literally on the road, because there was no possible way that it would have rolled off like that. And my toddler was playing with the neighbor's cat, before she noticed her brother was rolling away when I confronted him about it. He tried to explain, but he just kept stuttering. I still don't know what exactly happened. I don't know if he didn't put the brakes on the stroller. If the wind blew him away, I just don't know. My neighbor contacted me and had asked if I wanted the security footage because his wife is 100% on my side, so I'll probably find out once it gets sent to me. Procrastinatador. I want to acknowledge that this is a horrific situation, but saying, I don't care if it was his ADHD, isn't going to fix anything, and will probably only make things worse. Talking and thinking about it like he intentionally tried to kill your child isn't either. With ADHD, you actually do not register things like this at all sometimes. Life expectancy for those of us with ADHD is actually significantly lower because many of us end up, often accidentally, killing ourselves. It is not the same thing as carelessness, but learning about ADHD a little deeper can help you guys be safer. Understanding how my ADHD works and using different than standard precautions like my brain needs has actually most likely saved my life. Lie out what you want from him. That's probably that he get his ADHD better under control, whether that be through prescription medication or more homeopathic method, that you get a different place if possible, that he not take your kids out in your front yard without you, etc. Also, neither he or the neighbor noticed, but you heard your kid from inside? Something seems off here. Were your neighbors just watching the stroller roll towards the street? Was your husband on the other side of your house where he couldn't see the stroller? Were you already walking outside as this unfolded? I'm trying to understand better what was going on here and why your husband or the neighbor did not notice, but you did from inside. People with ADHD tend to be incredibly good and quick to act in emergency situations, so this is especially weird. I'm absolutely not accusing you of leaving anything out or anything, but asking you to think about what your husband and the neighbor were doing that neither noticed. That smells fishy. This is a horrible situation. I lost a pet due to the inattentiveness of ADHD, but I can't imagine losing or even nearly losing a child. OP. That's why I'm waiting for the footage. It doesn't make sense how this all happened. I don't know how to explain my house. There's a huge window in the lounge room. It was open a little too. I can listen out. The neighbor's house is 2 houses away. We are at the end of the street near the main road. When you first walk into my house on your left, there is the lounge on the right, the kitchen when I got up. I couldn't run that fast because I'm still healing. Sorry if this doesn't make sense. When I ran outside the neighbor's, wife was running for the stroller but was still far away, and the neighbor was helping my little girl off the road. That's all I seen. I'm just waiting for a response from them. My husband was just standing there, hands on his head, doing nothing. I fucking screamed when I read what happened. Are you okay? Like, did you get any more damage to yourself? You literally just had a baby. What the fuck was your husband doing? Like, being outside with small children, especially on a busy street, should be treated like watching babies swim, because anything can happen in an instant. I hope you are okay, and also, IDK, but do you all have cameras in your house? I wonder how long your husband was talking to the neighbor. OP. I tore my stitches from the C-section and had to go to the ER while I was there. I made sure my baby girl got her knees and hands bandaged up. The crazy thing is, I didn't even realize I was bleeding until I was in my parents' car. My mom pointed it out. She panicked, took baby boy back to their house, and my dad took me and my daughter to the hospital. Updated 11 hours later. Update. The neighbor's wife sent me the footage, and I really can't just wrap my head around it. So my husband was walking with the stroller, and my toddler was in front of them when they passed the neighbor's house. My neighbor was outside washing his car, and my toddler saw his pet cat and stopped to go pet it, so my husband stopped. Left my baby on the road. He didn't even bother locking the wheels and walked all the way up the driveway, not even bothering looking back at the baby. He had his back faced to him for about 5 minutes before the stroller just suddenly started moving. I think it's because the road is on a hill, kinda. Or it could have been the wind. My toddler never went near the stroller. It couldn't been her. The stroller went down the road and my toddler. That's when she started screaming and running for it when she saw. The neighbor started running after my daughter when she tripped. He tried to pick her up. That's when the neighbor's wife's car comes into frame and she stops and starts running back to the way the stroller is coming after that. You can't really see anything because it's all out of frame. But you can hear all the commotion. My husband just stood there the whole time, hand on his head with a blank stare on his face. He didn't even do anything when our toddler was crying from hurting herself. He only started crying when I confronted him. What do I do? I genuinely do not know what to do. I'm panicking. This was never the life I wanted for my kids. I don't understand why he was standing there. I have not even gotten a text or a call from him since I got sent the video. It's just been silent. I just can't get the sound of my daughter's screams. That's the sound that no mother wants to hear. I can't explain in the moment, but it felt like my blood went cold. And I just felt pure fear. I never want to watch the footage again. New updates. Update. Went back to my husband after he almost killed our newborn. 19 days later, March 30th, 2024. 19 days later. Hey everyone. I posted here a while back about my husband nearly killing our newborn son. I wanted to give a quick update on the situation. After reading through the comments, I decided to go back to my husband. Many of you pointed out that if I left him, we'd end up with 50/50th custody of our kids, which I couldn't bear. So I made the difficult choice to stay, even though my love for him has faded. My plan now is to tough it out until our kids turn 18 and then leave. I'm terrified of getting pregnant again, especially since I'm not allowed to use birth control or get my tubes tied. My parents, who could offer support, are moving away, leaving me feeling trapped. Despite everything, my husband tries hard to make things right. He still treats me with affection and goes out of his way to create special moments for our family. Seeing him bond with our newborn and our daughter fills me with conflicting emotions. I know I can't stand being with him, but I can't bear to separate him from our kids either. He was so happy when we came back home, but I can't stand even looking at him. I feel some guilt because he still calls me by my nickname, looks at me like I'm the only girl in the world, besides our daughter, and he still continues our traditions like when the kids are sleeping he will go get ice cream and our favorite snacks, and sets up a fort on our bed to watch movies on our laptop. Even though I'm sacrificing my happiness, my priority is ensuring my children's safety and well-being. It's a tough situation, but I'm doing my best to navigate it for the sake of my family. This is a throwaway, so I'm going to log out. Bye. Update 3 July 16th, 2024, 3 months after OG post. Editor's note. Added paragraphs for easier reading. As you can see from my previous post, I did go back to him, and it was quite literally the biggest mistake I've ever made, but I felt like I really had no choice. No money, family moved out of state, a lot has happened the past couple of months, so it turns out my husband started taking meds for his ADHD a couple of weeks before I was due to give birth to our son. He took my kids on a walk to cover up the fact that he was also on meth. He took my kids to meet his dealer apparently every time they went for a walk. Looking back at the footage now, it makes so much sense because the way he was talking to the neighbor before, everything happened, he was kind of leaning to the side. I talked to my neighbor and I asked him if he knew that my husband was on drugs. He said he didn't, but he noticed that my husband looked a bit off recently. His wife works at a rehab clinic after a fight where I had to flee with the kids to the neighbor's house. She pointed out that the way he was acting was the way that people acted with drug withdrawal. My neighbor and his wife ended up helping me book a flight to my parents. I'm currently with them right now, and I have spoken to a lawyer that my parents are going to help me pay for. I thank all the people from my original post that told me to keep the footage because it is going to come in handy. My husband keeps sending me videos of him shooting up and doing other substances. He keeps saying that they are going to fix him. He sent me a video of him standing in our kids' room, and he was just screaming at me, saying that it helped him cope with his ADHD. He took a knife and stabbed both of our kids' mattresses. I am not going back. He even cut up the side of my bed. There's a comment from my previous post that has been sitting in the back of my mind and has been bugging me. I think you know which one it was. It was by their comment, saying I don't care if it was his ADHD isn't going to fix anything, and will probably only make things worse. Talking and thinking about it like he intentionally tried to kill your child isn't either. With ADHD, you actually do not register things like this at all sometimes. Life expectancy for those of us with ADHD is actually significantly lower because many of us end up, often accidentally, killing ourselves. It is not the same thing as carelessness, but learning about ADHD a little deeper can help you guys be safer. Understanding how my ADHD works and using different than standard precautions like my brain needs has actually most likely saved my life. Lie out what you want from him. That's probably that he get his ADHD better under control, whether that be through prescription medication or more homeopathic method, that you get a different place if possible, that he not take your kids out in your front yard without you, etc. Also, neither he or the neighbor noticed, but you heard your kid from inside? Something seems off here. Were your neighbors just watching the stroller roll towards the street? Was your husband on the other side of your house where he couldn't see the stroller? Were you already walking outside as this unfolded? I'm trying to understand better what was going on here and why your husband or the neighbor did not notice. But you did from inside. People with ADHD tend to be incredibly good and quick to AC emergency situations, so this is especially weird. I'm absolutely not accusing you of leaving anything out or anything, but asking you to think about what your husband and the neighbor were doing that neither noticed. That smells fishy. This is a horrible situation. I lost a pet due to the inattentiveness of ADHD, but I can't imagine losing, even nearly losing a child. WTF. It baffles me that you can even compare losing an animal to losing a child. You made people with ADHD sound completely unreliable for themselves and that they can't do anything. You made them sound very helpless, and saying that the life expectancy thing was completely uncalled for as well. I bet many people with ADHD reading that completely disagreed with you. Judging from all the comments and YouTube videos I've seen on my post, I don't know if you're projecting that you lost a pet from your inattentiveness of ADHD. If you were letting things die in your care, you need to get stronger help. And no, I was not going to lay out what I want from him. He's the one that started, mixing his meds and was high off his mind every time they went out for a walk. And no, I'm not ableist. I was in a very vulnerable state when I first posted my original post. All I was doing was looking for help and advice. But all I got was, where was you? What were you doing? Why wasn't you with the kids? Why didn't you get your husband checked out? I was healing from a fucking C-section. Get that through your heads. I genuinely hope that everybody that said something horrible about me in my original post has to get cut open, and then 4 days later is forced to run down the street. I gave him another chance like you all said in my original post. You seen what happened. Stop using ADHD as an excuse. I genuinely believe that if he had killed my child, you would have defended him. And no, I did not know he was on drugs. And all the people that reached out to me, I'm going to be forever grateful for all of the parents with ADHD that didn't make me feel like it was all my fault. And all the stories that you guys have shared with me made me feel so seen, because I know exactly how it feels. I hope everybody is doing well. Everybody that was defending me. I wish I could give you a big hug. I genuinely wish I could send gift baskets. I would. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And I am so sorry about that comment that person made. I know you guys are all not like that. You guys are genuinely intelligent. From all the comments that I've read, I could not. Thank you guys enough. And one person that sent me that horrible message, I genuinely hope I run into you one day so I can beat your ass until you see stars and say anything about my daughter or my son one more time. And I will literally track you down. Logging out. Story 13. 8th for ruining an engagement by revealing that I was raped by him 10 years ago. Original post. September 5th, 2024. A little backstory is needed, so please stick with me. Growing up, I, F27, had a childhood friend, Angie, F27, who was as close as a real sister. We spent entire weekends at each other's place, celebrated family events, etc. From 6YO till 18YO, L even lived at her place in 2nd grade while my parents went to a nasty divorce. I learned to speak some Russian, as she is Russian, and she learned to speak some Spanish. Needless to say, her older brother and little sister were like a family to me. During our teenage years, she had her 2 male best friends, one whom she started dating, and another one, Nico, now 29, who was Russian as well, whom I started dating at 17. Growing up, I had issues with a heart condition. I won't bore you with the details, but I had to take a lot of meds, but got healthier starting from 16. One didn't have to take them daily, but only when my heart rate became irregular. But then immediately, as it would become extremely painful, my heart would cramp, I would start to hyperventilate. All my friends knew this, Nico included, and that I would black out if my meds got taken with alcohol. I didn't smoke much or drink much growing up as a result, since I was worried about my health and only did drink at home or in a safe setting. Legal drinking age is 16 here, and I only drank wine or beer, if at all. I had my first time with Nico at 17, and when my parents stayed at a retreat 2 weeks later, he come over to have a date night. I did drink 1 glass of wine, but starting having health issues later resulting in me taking my meds and being unconscious. I was a bit sore the next morning, but didn't think much about it. 2 weeks later, I'm informing Nico that I'm late on my period, and he starts to panic, confessing he had sex with me while I was unconscious. We had it before, so he didn't think much about it. Apparently, he didn't have a condom, but since I was on the pill, he figured it was all right, and he also didn't come in me, but in a tissue. I felt violated and disgusted by myself. I didn't know how to describe this and only told Angie about it. I was an utter mess for a few years and wasn't able to have sex again until 2 years later. I didn't remember any of it, but was too ashamed to go to my mom or anybody else. I didn't think of it as rape back then. I was too young to really understand what and how I was violated. And Angie told me it's all right, I should break up if I feel bad about it. But we were in a relationship and did have sex before. I broke up with him the following day, and apparently he cried about his broken heart to her. As Nico and Angie were close and hanging out together a lot, they started dating a few months afterwards, and I had to see him every time when visiting her. I told her I'm not able to see him, but she didn't understand where I'm coming from. The contact stopped, and we haven't texted or seen each other in years. I still followed her and her family and saw that her brother is expecting his first child. As I was extremely close with her family, I just commented on the Insta post expressing my gratitude when he reached out to me. I missed his wedding, but he wanted to ask if I would be interested in joining the baby shower, as it's been years, and we've been extremely close before. He told me I was like a third little sister. I just asked if Nico will be attending as well, as Angie and him have been dating for 9 years now, and he said yes. I didn't elaborate much, but just expressed that I'll send a small present if he can give me his current address, but won't be attending. He kept on pestering me what exactly happened all those years ago and why I'm not in their lives anymore. Angie told her family I'm not able to see her with an ex of mine, but her brother thought there's more behind it. This is when I think I could be the asshole. I told him the truth about what happened back then. And while I didn't know it at 17, I know now that this was rape, and I named it as such. I didn't receive any message back from him, but a few days later Angie reached out to me, furious. Nico had planned to propose during the baby shower, but Angie's brother is against it now, having learnt why I stopped the contact. She loves Nico and will stay with him, but by doing so, her brother said she is no longer a part of his life, as he doesn't want his little baby girl in the same family as a rapist. Since then, I've been getting messages from old high school acquaintances, telling me I should have ignored it and not told anybody. Since I didn't speak up back then, I lost the right to do so now, and am a horrible person for ruining somebody's life over some stuff he did 10 years ago when he himself was a child as well. Am I truly the asshole for speaking up? Ada has no consensus bot. OP was NTA. Relevant? Comment? OP responds to multiple comments about how things are wrong, and she could speak up. OP. I understand now how wrong it has all been, and that it's rape. But we grew up in a small town with approx. 5K people, and I honestly don't know which way it would have gone if I would have spoken up. He was 19 back then, 2 years older, and everybody is in everybody's business. It would have made sound back then, like it does now. They all still live there, and it has made its rounds. That's why so many of our old classmates are reaching out. Most of who still live there have left me furious messages. They have known Nico for all their life and are standing by him. I moved out when I was 20, my mom shortly after, and didn't stay in touch, which most. It still breaks my heart to get such a furious response from people who are my whole childhood. And thank you for all your best wishes. I genuinely appreciate it. OOP did not ruin Nico's life. He did this himself. OP. I understand that what happened is on him. The backlash I am getting is because he apparently is not that person anymore, and in something he did as a teenager, according to Angie, should not ruin his life, and is in no way related to the daughter her brother will have. I don't know if he will ever act out or do something, but it doesn't invalidate what happened to me. So thank you for confirming this. I just can't stop to feel bad about this having so much consequences. While I do not want to see Nico or Angie, I have made my peace with what happened to me back then. Commenter, but why are they attacking you and not the brother? You are not the one objecting to the marriage. Just feels like misogyny and victim-blaming TBH. OP. I guess because he is family, and I'm the outsider who ruined their family. I have been getting so many messages from people who didn't even have my number back then. I'm blocking the best I can. It's just hard to not let these comments get to your heart. Commenter, NTA. They got together so soon after the two of you broke up. I can't help but wonder if your friend was convincing you to break up with Nico because she was hoping to get with him all along. OP. I honestly don't believe it. They've known each other for years, and she broke up with her boyfriend 2 weeks before I broke up with Nico. It was a 5K town, even adding the people our age from near villages. Our school had 500 people attending, hence the options are very limiting. OP on getting therapy in order to heal from her past trauma. OOP. I was in therapy for 2 years and found peace with what happened to me. I am lucky as I have no memory of it, but that didn't make it easier. It took me 2 years to be able to have any form of sexual contact again, but I am okay now. It's a part of me, but it's a part I can live with. Honestly, thank you for your kind words. OOP on her health issues at the time when the incident happened. OP. Oh, it's not drunk, blacked out. My medicine back then was supposed to lower my heart rate extremely, as I would have a racing heartbeat and my body would start to shut down. Hyperventilating, my heart not being able to follow such strong use and basically tripping over the high heart rate. My heart would start skipping beats, then not being able to follow my thin blood, which flows faster than regular one. And the skipping would be the painful one, as it would start to cramping up. I'm sorry I'm not able to explain it better. English is not my primary language and I lack the medical vocabulary to fully describe it. The pills slowed my heartbeat and general body functions, thus making me extremely tired. I'd mixed with alcohol. It would basically act like a super strong sleeping pill. My body could be thrown off a cliff and I wouldn't wake up. I did give consent for the first time we had sex, but that was our first and only time. I don't know if we would have had sex back then if I would have been conscious, as I didn't like it, being my first time and all, and wasn't that eager knowing repeating it. I don't think calling it rape is wrong, but what I had issues was if I should have approached this subject more sensible. In that way I can understand that I ruined their engagement plans for next week or his surprise of one. Update. September 15th, 2024. First of all, I am immensely thankful for all the people who took the time to not only read through my story, but also comment. I read every single comment and tried to respond to as many as possible. It gave me a little bit of hope of compassion for victims of rape and also the courage to not cave to the backlash I received. Mental update. Reading all the messages defending my choices on speaking up made me realize how insecure I was on what I'm allowed to do, and how much I was trying to make it right to other people besides myself. This especially included Nico and Angie. All of you are right. If Nico had changed, he would have apologized, reached out, or tried to make amends in some way. Either when word got to him from his brother-in-law or at some earlier point in his life. My former best friend Angie should have been able to feel some sort of compassion if she had any respect for me as a human being or the time we spend together. Her reactions showed that I shouldn't hesitate on my actions. I went to therapy from 21 onwards and thought I moved on from the rape as best as I could, but I realized how ashamed I still am almost 10 years later about an incident that wasn't my fault at all. I was ashamed to speak up back then and afraid that people around me would look differently at me. And somehow I still felt bad about speaking up today, so I trying to own what happened to me now and not apologize for other people's behaviors, especially as they don't even show me respect. What happened since then? I archived every nasty message I got on WhatsApp so I wouldn't have to read them, but would have the proof if needed at a later point. Angie's mom called me the following day of the incident, crying. I shouldn't have answered the phone, but during the 10 years of friendship I saw her as an aunt, almost a second mom. She always joked that while her children would run around the house doing whatever, I would always take the time to drink a tea and talk with her, showing her more love and time than her actual children. While she said she's sorry for what has been and for what I went through as a child, she couldn't believe that I would ruin Angie's happiness over something like that. With Angie's brother refusing to have Nico as part of the family and Angie standing by Nico's side, it's divided their family, and she is heartbroken. She has grown to love Nico like family as well, and has known him for nothing more than a considerate young man who she knows will make her daughter happy. It wasn't nasty names or angry talk, just a heartbroken mother who faked to acknowledge my pain and saw the fault in me. Angie's mom tried to get me to apologize or to take it back, but I refused as I don't see the fault in me. With everything that has happened, I believe that Nico hasn't changed and is just hiding it better somehow. He can see how people are standing by him and supporting his behavior so he won't have to change, and that is something I didn't want to indulge. Angie's mom not even once used the word rape, and I tried to correct her every time she talked about it, trying to name it for her to understand better, but she would just start sobbing more, and it didn't make sense for us to continue to talk. Angie's mom used to be in contact with mine for some time, and she reached out to her after our talk. I was afraid that my mom would find out since she's from a more conservative background. We had a long talk, and I didn't get to see her, physically, yet, but she apologized for not being there for me or not making me feel like I can talk to her. I tried to calm her as best as I could, but when she asked me if my current partner knows I was used like that, I got angry. She was scared my partner would leave me if he found out, implying it was something that made me less precious or appealing. When she asked me to keep it a secret from our family abroad and in our country, I hung up. She was acting exactly the way I was afraid she would, as if it's something shameful. It was especially hard as I am trying my best to move away from the feeling of shame. She has since apologized, but it's clear that her view of me has changed. I don't yet know how to deal with it, but that's something to worry about in the next few weeks. As some of you suggested, I wrote Angie's brother, Sven, again, and apologized for the mess, but am glad that it is out in the open and how proud I am that he's defending his family. I asked if his old email is still working, as I would just send a gift card. He didn't respond, but I got a message from his wife 2 days ago. She thanked me for speaking up and informing them about Nico. There were apparently had a few moments that made her uncomfortable, some jokes Nico made, and in retrospective she can see why. Sven apparently informed her the moment he got my initial text, and both of them have since seen Angie but not Nico. She refuses to be in the same room or house as him, and same goes to their unborn daughter. Sven and Angie's mom has been at their place multiple times to beg to forgive Nico, and Sven caved a little. Angie and Nico will get married, Sven will attend, but his wife will not. He is allowed in the family but not in contact with either Sven's wife or daughter. Those restrictions are not for Angie. Sven was suffering trying to ease his mother's worries and is not able to take a stand and cut them out completely. This is a compromise they made without his wife's approval, and she told me she's trying her best to cut them out of their life indefinitely. She wanted to move back, closer to her family as well, and thinks this is a perfect opportunity but isn't sure if she can follow through. His wife told me she's terribly sorry for all the issues that came my way, and it has been a lot trying to handle the situation on their side. Sven knows it's not my fault, but he doesn't want contact. It's hard for him to talk or see my name because even though he knows I'm not the guilty party, in some way I was the bearer or bad news, and he sees me as the start of all this drama. She told me a few times that neither believe I'm the bad guy. They just are tired with everything, and it's just been extremely hard on them. That's all that has happened so far. I am frustrated about how everything came to be. It feels like Nico will just continue with his life without having to be remorseful. I didn't want him to suffer, but I think some part of me wanted to at least receive some kind of apology for all the suffering I went through afterwards. I'm having to deal with my mother and her changed, shameful view on me. And even though I'm happy it's all out, it's extremely hard to stand by my choices. My partner and my best friends both have been my shoulder to cry on during this ordeal. Especially my best friend was enraged for me, and I am extremely grateful to have both by my side. Right now I'm just emotionally drained, but I'm sure it will be better once a few weeks passes. Comment. Commenter 1. You spoke up and did the right thing. If others can't handle the truth, that's their problem. Keep focusing on your healing and support. Commenter 2. NTA. Unfortunately, it's a tale old as time. The woman is blamed and the rapist gets off without a blemish. Only by speaking the truth over and over will the situation improve, and when the boomers die off. Commenter 3. 100% the right thing. What you did may keep Nico from attacking someone else, or may encourage one of his other victims to step up. You never know how much people like you help everyone else. When you stand up and speak out and are not ashamed of what was not your fault, but will point the finger at the one to shame. You're making the world a better place. I'm sorry for the family Nico misled and the wife who was foolish enough to stay with him, but it's no longer your business. You did the right thing, and it's going to help others. If no one else says it to you, thank you for doing all this. You are amazing.